you're stuck in a hurricane, 'cause everything around you just keeps on turning. I can see you searching for an escape. The fire in your heart, it just keeps on burning. Keeps on, it just keeps on burning. Keeps on, it just keeps on burning. Keeps on, it just keeps on burning. Fire in your heart, it just keeps on burning. Don't worry, don't worry. You got the future on your mind. No hurry, no hurry. Let's take it one day at a time. Don't worry, don't worry. You got the future on your mind. No hurry, no hurry. Let's take it one day at a time. Don't worry, don't worry. You got the future on your mind. No hurry, no hurry. Let's take it one day at a time.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to week 8 of the show. Of course, ANZ We're having a lot of fun down here, and we've had a lot of fun over the previous weeks. I'm joined by two handsome gentlemen here, of course. I've got Cthulhu on my camera right, and I've also got Elfish Guy on my camera left. How you guys going? Jordan, you first.
Good, excellent. I'm always excited. I'm always surprised when I get to come back on to an ANZ show, and today's no different. They've let me back on. I don't know why, but hey, here we are. We're ready to go and have a good night.
Very good. What about you, Cthulhu? Did you have a good week? I guess it's Friday now. Like, my whole week's just been a blur. What about yours?
Look, yeah, quite a hectic week, but very much excited that it's Friday, that we get to cast some more tanks goodness. Look, I mean, more opportunities for me to get dunked on for my predictions.
Very good. Look, I think you've been doing all right. However, I did see I'm ahead of most people, but we'll save that for when we get to predictions. We've got plenty to talk about. Let's talk about last week's results, because there was a crazy amount of things going on there. Jordan, I feel like you missed this with me. We were busy doing other crazy things, traveling the world. So Cthulhu, can you fill us in on what happened here?
Look, I'll be honest, it was quite a whirlwind, because we kicked it off with Sentinels being completely overturned by Action X. It seemed like they were back into their mojo. It seems that they were back into the general sort of swing of things. Felt very cohesive. Whereas for Sentinels, yeah, look, just things didn't seem to be going just the right way throughout the whole matchup. Scorpions versus Comets. Look, that one was relatively expected. Well, probably one of the more sort of normal matches where, you know, Scorpions just being Scorpions, they were the ones that just seemed sort of one step ahead of Comets, despite Comets' best sort of attempts and intentions. And then the Panthers versus Matildas. Look, there's been some talks about the some sort of behind-the-scenes blessings that Matildas all of a sudden received, and yeah, look, I gotta say this is the Matildas that we were sort of expecting to see going into this season.
Okay, anything surprising here for you, Jordan, that maybe you weren't expecting?
Yes, many things surprising for me.
Okay.
Actually, I looked at those and I thought this is going to be an easy prediction week. Like, finally, I'm going to get 3 right. Sentinels, Scorpions, Panthers, they can't lose any of these matchups. But somehow, I still have only managed to get 1 out of 3. So I really don't know. Like, I just feel like at this point, it's so hard to make any kind of accurate prediction because it just seems like anyone can beat anyone at this point. Like, obviously, there are trends where, again, the teams on the left side of the scoreboard here or the results board here have been performing a little bit better of late, but it's not as if it's impossible for anyone to upset. So, yeah, Sentinels, very disappointed to see them losing. Panthers, also very disappointed to see them losing. Scorpions, upheld their end of the bargain at least.
I just love the upsets. You know, it keeps things interesting as we get through the season. Now, let's have a look at the team standings where everyone's currently sitting after 7 weeks of games. Or 6 weeks even. 6, 7? How's my maths? It's not quite there. Right. It is 7, but I'm looking at the top with Sydney Scorpions. They got another loss over towards the right, so it threw me a little bit. Anyway, let's have a look here. Scorpions up top right now. Sentinels not too far behind. Perth Panthers in 3rd. Adelaide Action X in 4th. Cairns Comets in 5th and 6th place. You've got Matildas who managed to pull that upset win last week. Jordan, any thoughts on these?
Well, Panthers obviously in a bit of trouble now if they want to hold on to 3rd place, which it didn't really look like they should be having any issues doing. So now there's a bit more of a conversation around them. And, you know, honestly, even Action X and Comets, and to be fair for Matildas, like if they get themselves a win tonight as well, it actually could end up being a 4-horse race for those 2 playoffs spots in 3rd and 4th. Scorpions and Sentinels sort of seems like they're kind of still going along strong, but they're playing against each other tonight. So maybe there's a world where, well, there is definitely a world where one of them's going to miss out on some points and the gap can potentially close. But, you know, they're still a good kind of couple of wins away from most teams. And I think we're getting towards the latter stages of the season now. Pretty hard to imagine that either of those 2 teams are going to drop out of 1st or 2nd. And, yeah, it's just a case of where the rest of this pack ends up kind of looking, because it sort of feels like it's anyone's game right now from 3rd to 6th.
It certainly is. Now, let's have a look at the fantasy team of the week. From all the players that played, that won the most points for all you guys playing fantasy. I haven't actually checked mine. Are you still up the top? Wait, who's winning fantasy? I thought, Jordan, you always talk about how good you are at this.
I'm 3rd overall.
You're 3rd? Whoa. Yep. Did you have any of these guys on your team?
Last week, I would have had Critical and Aussie, and Dark would have been on my bench, and I think I might have had Russian in last week as well.
Okay, what about you, Cthulhu? Are you above Jordan? How you doing?
No. I'm unfortunately only on 11th place, but I did manage to slightly reduce the damage that I caused myself from the last few weeks. So I did manage to climb a couple spots. I'm gonna be honest. I keep on missing out with Scorpions because the day I pick JT, it's Aussie and Russian that performs. The day I pick Aussie, it's JT and Russian that performing. So the result from this is that I should be really just picking Russian and just, you know, enjoying my time here. But the biggest sort of thing that and the biggest sort of storyline that has been amusing to me out of all of this is Dark, because Dark has been sort of that borderline a sub for Matildas. But whenever he's on, Matilda's just putting up an absolute heater of a show, despite the fact that he's not even nowhere near close to being in the All-Stars leaderboard.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of, let's have a look at the All-Stars leaderboard. You have the Returned, you got Critical, Rainbow, Dongalord, and Whippet. And look, they are the players you really want on those fantasy teams. This, of course, is the stats from the whole season so far, going into week 8. You could expect some things to change, but I guess the law of averages, everything's starting to even out. So the return doing a really good job to hold on to that first position. Do either of you have the returned in your fantasy team or not?
Yes, yeah. Returned has actually been pretty much a 100% inclusion for me. There are a few players that I sort of flip in and out. Rainbow's actually one of them. Dongalord's another. Like sometimes I've got them in my team, sometimes I don't, depending on the matchup. But I feel like for Sentinels and pretty much for any team really, like Returned is a 100% must pick on your fantasy roster. He's, I think, a 4-star pick, so incredibly well valued considering he is, I believe, the most consistent player in terms of not only the matches that he plays. He seems to play like every single game, which not every player does, but he also does really well in every single game. So I feel like he's pretty much a sure bet to get you some points. And yeah, I don't think he's going to be dropping out of the fantasy team at all this season, personally.
Okay, well, I think I've got Dongalord in there solely for the name. I'm playing fantasy hardcore mode. I picked my team in the first week, and I'm not making any changes. So we'll see where I end up. It's probably not going to work super well, but I was pretty happy with how my first week went. Now, let's talk about this week's matches. Let's have a look at who's playing who's doing what, who's winning, who's upsetting. Cthulhu, take me through them.
Yeah, look, a whole lot of those matches are a bit of an interesting one because Action X versus Matildas, both teams looked quite reinvigorated from the last week's matches, so both of them could really bring the big dub. Personally, for me, I kind of leaned a little bit towards AX, but honestly, at this point, this might as well just be a coin flip with the way how both teams been performing and how well. Panthers Comets, look. Comets have quite a fair bit of, catching up to do, and I think today might just be the day, whereas the Sydney Derby, historically, Sentinels been the ones to win in the regular season, so who knows, maybe the curse will be broken for Scorpions here.
Well, what are your thoughts on these ones, Jordan, before we jump on into the predictions? Do you think that there's big upset potential in all three of the games today, or do you think there's a standout for most of them?
No, I think there is upset potential. I actually think that every single one of these games is a pretty difficult one to call. It depends on... I mean, look, I think each has their favorite, and I think you'll see that when we get to my predictions, and I think I agreed with a few people. But the results from last week, again, like I said, kind of go to show that anything can really happen, and these are not incredibly one-sided matches. Like, you got the two top teams, Sentinels and Scorpions, playing against each other. So there's no, like, massive favorite in any matchup, in my opinion.
Okay, well, let's jump into our predictions to see what we think is going to happen. And it might not reflect the general community's understanding of, percentages for each of these teams. But have a look. We are mostly aligned for four of us, all exactly the damn same. Blue Panda, he's gone for the Matildas and the Comets there, but aligned with us on that third game. And then, of course, Wargaming and Production. They're looking a little bit different, a little bit spicy. Some Scorpion picks in there. Do you think that that's a good shot, or do you think that's a bad shot?
Look, I'm gonna be honest. I'm just happy to see a little bit more variety in the predictions for once. But look, honestly, between Panthers and Comets, I'm gonna be honest. The second matchup I did a coin flip. So I said, whatever the coin says, I'm gonna pick it. Panthers won the coin flip, so I went with the Panthers. AX, I'm more so just I guess they seem just a whole lot more organized with the way how they've been playing. Sentinels versus Scorpions, I think this is more so, at least from the way how I see it, it's a little bit more of a. I hate to say that it's a safety pick, but it's, the trend, generally speaking, says that Sentinels were winning before. So what stops them from doing it now?
I guess, you raise a solid point. And the audience, they're aligned with Jordan and myself and you, Cthulhu. So it looks like everyone watching and talking is going to be on the same page. Hopefully that doesn't, trickle any bias, and we don't want any of that, not around here. Do you want to talk about the team lineups going into this week?
Yes.
Very good. Thanks, Jordan. I'm glad somebody did. I certainly did. I was hoping I had a friend. And Cthulhu, thanks for joining us as well. So Adelaide Action X, they're bringing in these 7 individuals for the week. Now, anything you want to touch on here, Cthulhu?
Honestly, Action X, I reckon they might have just managed to find their sort of formula. From what I heard, Val is coming back into this week's Playday as well. So he has been a big key player for the roster. And I think now we kind of, especially after the last week's performance with sort of the whole team untilting themselves from all the previous upsets, I think they're looking very, very sort of confident, albeit still kind of the pressure. The pressure of them trying to push for, the top positions is now sort of much more negligent, but they still are keen to, come in and play the game to the best of their ability.
Well, they're looking pretty good. Dongalord, he's a bit all over the place there. Great background, though. Great background indeed. Are we expecting any of these individuals to stand out more so than the others, Jordan?
Look, I think obviously you'd be looking toward Dongalord. He is the 5-star pick for this roster, and he's been someone that's been super, super consistent for them. When he performs, it sort of feels as though it's going to be a good result for Action X. If he does fail to perform, then it seems like they fall apart. I think he plays some really important roles in that team as well. He's obviously the bat chat player. He plays the 50Bs as well when that gets picked up. So I always sort of turn my attention toward those players. Alongside him, I sort of feel like, again, the core of that roster with obviously Trax coming through, getting the vast majority of games, and then CJ as well, probably the majority of games coming through for him as well. Those are probably the big three for me. Val and Glosser, they don't tend to get as much game time, so maybe a little bit out of practice in that respect. I'd be looking at the big three to probably be the ones to stand up in this game and get it over the line.
All right, well, if we're talking about big threes, we got the Matildas here. Cthulhu, who are the three players to watch on this team?
Oh, look, I'll be honest and say Crit, Whippet, and Dark, because with Crit and Whippet, they sort of, I mean, you even see it on the All Stars leaderboard. They pop up. They can do solo work really, really well. I mean, Crit has literally the whole world on his head, and he's balancing that. But when the biggest sort of so far the biggest impressive point about that trio, Dark, he has been almost the key player for he has been the sort of the win condition almost for Matildas, because he is one of those players that you put him literally on any tank. You tell him, go and farm this specific person. He will go and successfully farm, and he will go beyond doing that. Whereas the rest of the team is doing their own job. So he is one of those players, you give him a task, he does it.
Now, I heard a little bit of discussion about Saxon earlier. So, Jordan, why is he a player to watch here for the Matildas? Is he the mastermind? What's he doing?
I mean, he's certainly a very experienced player. He's been in and around the ANZPL since the inception. Certainly someone that has a lot of good results under his belt, and I guess in a sense, kind of one of the quote unquote newer players in this Matilda roster. Obviously, it's now been quite a long season for them, but I think he's definitely someone to sort of keep an eye on in terms of. I like him as a person, you know what I mean? Like, I think he can definitely keep the atmosphere quite light in the Matildas roster, and the fact that they're at the bottom of the ladder, if you've got Saxon there, hopefully he's just kind of keeping everyone a little bit happier, because I can imagine things do get a bit tilting within the Matildas camp. They're a team that expects to get better results than what they have been. So I actually think there's quite a bit of value in having a person, and not even talking to his ability within the game, but just a person like him on your team.
Well, what about the vetoes here? We've got Action X picking Prokhorovka, and then Tundra for the Matildas with Himmelsdorf less over. Look, taking this at face value, Cthulhu, do you think it favors either one of the teams?
Honestly, I'm actually thinking this is the perfect sort of 50-50, because Proc for AX, at least in my memory, has not been particularly too stellar, whereas Tundra for them has been very good, especially their very last performance on it. So my expectation here, borderline, is that we see 2-0 trades and we see ourselves yeet to Himmelsdorf straight away in our first matchup.
Okay, and it looks like we're going to be jumping straight in. Jordan, tell us about Prokhorovka.
Yeah, look, I'm not too sure what we're going to get from Prokhorovka, because I would kind of agree with what Cthulhu said. Statistically, hasn't been the greatest of maps for Action X, but then again, Matildas really haven't played a lot of Prokhorovka this season at all. So, a little bit of a question mark, I guess, over what we're going to get from these two teams on this map. Hopefully, they've been putting in the hard yards on the scrims. Will be Action X to defend first, and of course, Dongalord straight into the bat chat. We do have one of those on the Matilda side of the field too. That'll be Dark.
Dark on the bat chat, whipping out on CS63. This is quite a info heavy sort of seems like a bit of a lineup from Matildas, whereas majority of the heavies are actually playing a very withdrawn position, minus Crit, who possibly could get bullied here, not gonna lie, because between Skunk of Val, Gloucester's M454, and VZ55 of Trax, he has to contest 3 different angles, and yeah, that's when you turn your side like this, yeah, good luck. Not trying to bounce anything.
Yep. It's not ideal. But look, only one shot. So not the end of the world. Work his way up, and the rest of the Matilda's going to work their way down the 1-2 line as well. Val has already just eaten a shot there from Whippet. So not a bad shout, actually. Decent trade starting to come through here for Matildas, and also some good map control being taken. Saxon will take the opportunity to go up over the road to try to get some shots in, and I don't know about this call from Action X. They're going to try to go up over the top, and they are going to get farmed for doing that. Gloucester is just eating shell after shell from Dark in that bat chat. Saxon and Kiwi Dynamite have not gone and taken any damage either, but critical drops. And maybe Matildas haven't done enough there. Val eventually does get traded down by Dark, so I guess you'll say even Steven at that point. HP deficit is well and truly there, though, for Action X, and Matildas will be very happy with their early exchanges.
I mean, I think both camps, for the most of it, minus Gloucester, are relatively okay with the trades. Yes, I mean, Trax got tagged up to half HP, Gloucester is sub 1k. But I mean, in all honesty, here, as long as Gloucester can bail out, never mind, yeah, that's not happening anytime soon. Yeah, that's Gloucester about to be gone. Look, for a brief moment, I was about to say this could still be very much workable for both camps. Actually, pulse champ. Maybe it might. Maybe Matildas will end up throwing this one, but
No,
Gloucester
I don't
should die
think
in a
so.
moment here. Yeah.
I don't think they can throw this one because Dongalord's on 2 shells remaining in that bat chat. Dark obviously still has the 5. So in this next passage of play, you're really going to be able to see Matildas escalate, assuming they take advantage of that time that they've got, which they're not. They're not aware that Dongalord is on the reload right now. Maybe they weren't tracking him. They knew he would have been
This could
down to
actually
2,
be
or they
perfect.
should have known he should have been down to 2.
But Jordan, this right now actually could be a perfect opportunity for Trax and Donga to just absolutely
Yeah.
tip over,
Yeah.
burst down the IS, and then all that is left for you to deal with is the Batchat and the CS.
Well,
So theoretically, that's a win situation here.
Whippet is there now to sort of provide a little bit of assistance. So may not be the best of choices. I don't think Action X is going to want to try to get too aggressive here. I think they're just going to want to play for those resets. I mean, there is still 4.5 minutes
True.
on the clock. But if you commit Trax and Dongalord in, they're also going to probably die. Because Whippet and Dark are just in response going to dump over as well and play it as a 3-on-3. So 3-on-2 even at that point, assuming CJ doesn't go over the top as well.
Doesn't look like CJ is actually inclined even to do anything really about it. So, I mean, seems like your call is actually right here. Just play for time. It seems though Matildas are not particularly too inclined to play for time. This is a full-on send. Donga needs to
Dongalord-
go and run here.
I don't think he's going to get out by any stretch of the imagination. So he's really just got to try and get as much damage down before he goes down. Unfortunately, he ends up only getting 3 of those shots out in the bat chat, and that means that there's obviously still 2 left in the clip, and that's a lot of damage that's gone by the wayside. Takes an extra shot in from Trax to finish off Dark, which would have been, ideally placed onto Whippet or Kiwi. So Matildas do have the advantage. They've got a CS63 still alive as well, which is important. However, Whippet is half HP. CJ is full. So if this does come down to a scenario where Action X are playing the timer, running away, then maybe CJ can get this done. It's really nice to have a tank like the CS63 this late into the round on full HP. It gives you a lot of playmaking potential.
Ooh,
Can't be affording
that is
to
a
lose this
good
duel against Trax. He's eaten a shot there from CJ as well.
CJ right now has a good opportunity to dip out, so still has about 5 seconds to just bail out, try to run away from Kiwi Dynamite, not let another shot sink into him. Trax needs to find a finisher here on Whippet, and then that might be actually the play he does, so that is a good sign. Now the problem being is that CJ is bleeding the HP, whereas Kiwi Dynamite is actually still being able to just flat out damage him in trades.
Yeah, this is still winnable for Kiwi, even though it's a 1-on-2. He's certainly got time to chase that VZ55 down, but it's going to be a little bit questionable if he does get into 1-shot territory, or even should I say 2-shot territory. A couple come through. CJ's on the run. Kiwi needs to ensure he connects this next shot, but it's
Trax
not
just
going to be
fired his
super
second
easy
shot.
for him.
Yeah, Trax just fired his second shot as well, so that is going to be on a long, long reload. And oh, CJ actually lands a shot. Oh my god! But what a close one.
That one came right down to the wire, didn't it? real a nail biter, so to speak. But look, unfortunately, no clutch coming through there, and yeah, it got close. There was the setup when it was in that 3v3. It was sort of like a standoff, but I really liked the moves that Matilda started to do towards the end. Unfortunately, it didn't play out in their favor, and Action X ended up taking the cake. So, anything you want to see going into the swapped sides into round 2?
I don't think that there was anything specifically there that I thought was like a massively glaring issue. It's, I suppose, a little bit disappointing to see Matildas losing it from the position that they were in. I think they didn't quite capitalize on the opportunity that they had when Dongalord was down to a couple of shots. So maybe there's a world where they need to be tracking the bat chat clip a little bit better. I don't know if that was communicated at all. Maybe they weren't confident enough to go over and try and take the fight to him, even if they did know, because obviously there was still a crossfire set up by Action X. But I think there was a couple of moments there where Matildas probably could have accelerated, and they were maybe a little bit indecisive and just didn't decide to go. And ultimately that lack of action was kind of to their detriment. It allowed Action X to come back into the game. It allowed them to sort of slow things down, just get a reset off and reload a couple of their weapons and straight back into the swing of things. So unfortunate for Matildas the way that has started, because it was definitely a winnable round.
Well, what about you, Cthulhu? Having a look at the stats here, anything that stands out to you? Kiwi Dynamite doing damage that round.
Absolutely, yeah. Kiwi Dynamite, the person that was a sort of an emergency sub more so for Matildas initially, actually came in quite rather big today, or at least in the first round. 5.4k is nothing to scoff at all. Whereas you look at the Action X, well, it's sort of the usual suspects. It's CJ, it's Trax. Donga didn't particularly have, the best sort of performance, but at this point, for what it's worth, at a point value, it all kind of worked out pretty well. And big kudos to Trax, though.
Yeah, getting those 4 limbs, also staying alive for long enough, and then that crazy battle towards the end. Now, looking at the stats there, it didn't seem to favor, too many of the players that were up towards the top of the leaderboard. And you have a look at the replays. Who was it? The man that did the 5k damage. He had bloody Kiwi Dynamite. He had 100% accuracy, so didn't miss a shot that game. Now, are we expecting him to be doing the carrying all night for Matildas?
No, I mean, I don't think Kiwi Dynamite would be the player that you would look to and say he needs to carry this, because, well, he's a player that doesn't really get a lot of game time, to be honest, from Matildas. He's only played 27% of the matches that they've been involved in so far. I think, in particular, you really have to highlight Critical not getting too much work done there at all. He was the first tank to go down. He was in a Super Conqueror as well. That's a tank that you want to be seeing surviving later into the game, because it's got high DPM, it's got a great gun, especially on a fairly long-range map like this. The Super Conqueror, very, very valuable. And also, not to mention the fact that Critical is generally someone that does a lot of damage for Matildas. So to see him going down early, you've taken a big hole and sort of punched it straight into Matildas. Obviously, Whippet as well is probably the other one. I think those are the 2 key players that have performed so far this season for Matildas, that if they get a win tonight, it's going to probably be off one of those 2, or probably both of them combining together and sort of having a good night tonight.
Well, we just got word that apparently Val's going to be subbed out and Iron Guard's coming in for the Adelaide Action X as well. How do you think that's going to affect it? Tell me as we jump on into round number 2.
Actually quite curious about that one, because Val, sort of, you touched up on that briefly, Elfish, with the fact that Val hasn't really seen as much action as he would back in the previous season of AX. Iron Guard actually almost just about as good of a pick here, but he probably just seen slightly more of the action here for AX.
Yeah, 43% of the games played for Iron Guard and 54% for Val. So
okay, so equal almost.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like, for all intents and purposes, yeah, roughly speaking.
This is an interesting. This is a Madhouse special we're getting from Matildas here.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, the T100 LT, I think, is quite a valuable tank on this map. It's going to really prevent Dongalord from being able to do anything. If he starts to push up this 1-2 line, he's going to be met with a lot of damage from those M454s. Whippet, though, has been spotted. He's not aware of that until the shot comes through from Iron Guard. So already a pretty hefty chunk of damage being done to the T100 LT, and this is pretty bad bleed to start off with for Matildas. You've got bleed coming in from both sides of the map, and Action X taking control of, most definitely of the eastern side of the map, but even starting to look pretty good on the west.
Yeah, this is... Ooh, that's a really cool stat. The sniper damage, 13,000, almost 14,000 damage over the long distance. That is definitely quite a teller as well about just the general playstyle of CJ with the way how he's been treating even the medium tanks. So this is actually quite an interesting even setup from Matildas. They decided to actually play very reactive to the fact that Whippet nearly got farmed up by that duo of Gloucester and Donga, now sending out the platoon of the double M454s towards that, which I would imagine would get spotted in the rather early stages.
Well, I would have, yeah, I mean, I would have thought that there was someone that would be able to get that spot early on, whether it was the Super Conk or, I mean, I guess Dongalor's kind of well out of there now, but Kiwi Dynamite and Saxon have gotten a very long way without being seen, and this is just going to be a huge chunk of damage into the side of Iron Guard. Oh, he was not expecting that at all, and I mean, is the Ops mod broken, or are Kiwi Dynamite and Saxon just unspotted at this point? That is ridiculous.
That is nuts.
That is huge damage.
Iron Guard is basically out of the game. Finally, they do get spotted, so it wasn't the mod that was actually just lying to us. It was actually quite factual that Iron Guard was spotted. Suppose trading IS-7 for an S-Conk still would probably hurt Action X quite substantially. Even Steven on the HP, but Gloucester's now being left all alone. Hopefully Donga will be able to help with the clip damage, but he completely dipped.
Yeah, Donga's out. He's not interested in this at all, so Gloucester's just going to have to, well, try to get in another 2 shots here, I suppose. One does go to the ground right in front of Saxon, so he'll have time probably to fire one more off here before he does go down, but that's about as good as he can really hope for at this point. Straight into the side of Saxon. That, of course, does do a fairly hefty chunk, but leaves Action X with now a 3-on-4.
Ideally, right now, CJ would want to find Whippet's T100 LT. The problem being is that in any scenario, you put in just the sheer spotting game, T100 LT against the CS, it's the T100 that will be outspotting the Polish medium. So, yeah, there's definitely going to be quite a fair few very big problems now mounting for Action X if they want to come out with the 2-0 still out of this one. But I'd say, actually, with Prokhorovka, at this point, even the 1-1 is not too bad of a scenario for AX, I reckon.
Well, I mean, you say that, but then you have a look at the Matilda's win rate on Tundra, and that's sitting at 80% right now, and maybe you start to question it a little bit.
True.
But if Action X have a solid Tundra, which, as you said, yeah, last week, I guess you were impressed. I didn't get to watch that from them, but
Pretty sure they've played Tundra.
yeah, I would hope they have. Certainly would hope they have. I don't know if it's winnable from here for Action X, though, like 1-0. They'd love to make that 2, but you're down 3-on-4. Getting a bit of cap pressure on, but look, I suppose Whippet's a pretty easy tank to take out of the game, so maybe there's a world where if he makes a mistake, that can swing it back to 3-on-3, and then that'll help Action X out a little bit. But even then, the HP advantage right now for Matildas is just massive. And shots are going out from tracks, but he's not connected either of those in the VZ55, which is quite unfortunate for Action X.
But yeah, so I actually quickly taking a gander. So it was Action X's defense that actually won them the game over Sense. So the attack of Action X on Tundra was the one being the problem. So yeah, so look, suppose the call for one, or like the trade of the maps and going into Himmelsdorf might still actually come to fruition here, I reckon.
Well, straight over the top here from Action X onto Critical. He's going to be isolated pretty quick and dealt with by the looks of things in just a moment. You are seeing some shots come in from Whippet. Tracks down now to 432, which will be a 1-shot for the M454, and I dare say that's where Kiwi Dynamite's going to be looking. Saxon's found Dongalord.
Yeah, the problem now being is that Action X are very much well and truly split now. Whippet continuing to chip away Trax's HP and basically might even just be able to finish him off, and indeed he will be. It's all down to CJ once again, the lone survivor. I mean, if it was a 2v1 with Saxon and Whippet only alive, yeah, I would say that CJ still has a decent chance. But as it stands with Whippet having the mobility that he has and the spotting ability, yeah, at this point CJ might just try to just farm up maybe a few more points for the fantasy and call it a round.
Yep. So that's probably the go-to right now for CJ. Minute 19. Round's over, that's for sure. Just having a nice drive around Prokhorovka. Looks like quite a nice place, all things considered. Until a tank comes along and drives through your village. I think actually though, if there was no tanks, that village would be quite nice.
I mean, nice scenery.
You know, a nice river going around the side. There's a lake there too. A nice hill to climb up. A good view. You got a train station probably.
Minus the wrecked train cars. But yeah, no, I definitely agree with you.
Just in terms of the location, not the evident war that's going on right now here. Action X and Matildas.
Exactly. Yeah, look, for CJ, this is basically all a done deal. Couldn't really do much, but at this point, look, 1-1, that's still very much workable for both teams.
Very big win coming out of the Matildas there. Adelaide Action X probably not going to be too happy about that. And as you guys were discussing, I think there's a very good likelihood of us actually going to a tiebreaker. But I guess we'll see how map number 2 goes. You guys mentioned it when we had a look at the veto, and it looks like the story, it's unfolding. Now, anything you think that Adelaide Action X should have changed there to try and lock it down? Or do you think that with that map, it's just a little bit too one-sided, Jordan?
It is a bit of a defensive-sided map, so I obviously think it's quite hard to say, oh yeah, Action X should have won on their attack. But look, it is their map choice, so there's a little bit of that. Matilda's being able to take so much control of the 1-2 line without getting spotted is probably a bit of a problem, as Iron Guard very quickly did recognize and got taken out of the game quite early on in the piece, and so that's a little bit unfortunate. But sometimes that's just what's going to happen, right? When you're a team that's up against a T100 LT and you don't have one of your own, it's quite hard to kind of hold on to that map control. So Matildas really were able to abuse that fact and ran away with things pretty comfortably.
Okay, now having a look at the stats here, Kiwi Dynamite at the top of the leaderboard in terms of the damage. Critical not too far behind, but look, Matilda's just doing a much better job there in the second round once things were flipped around. Anyone lacking a little bit too much in your thoughts, Cthulhu? Do you think Iron Guard just... him getting caught out in the middle there was just, you know, the grave being dug nice and early?
Yeah, look, that definitely did serve as quite a big initial sort of momentum breaker there. Sort of him getting spotted out, the whole flank, as a matter of fact, being completely exposed. Then, you know, Gloucester being left out with Donga having to bail out of there as well. Just in general, the way how Action X sort of positioned themselves, they were spread way too thin, which at the end sort of ultimately resulted in their own demise. But for all intents and purposes, look, it was a good lineup in terms of tanks. Just in sort of in the game of rock paper scissors, Matilda's won this round by bringing the T100 LT out of all the tanks.
Okay, now quickly, because you know people at home might not know why that matters. You want to give us a rundown on why that tank was so good given the scenario?
Yeah, look, with the way how, generally speaking, the light tanks do also work is they all sport one of the highest camouflage ratings, which does allow you to basically just sit around the bushes for a whole lot longer time. Plus, the view range, generally speaking, can be boosted to quite some absurd matters, where you could literally be within just slightly above sort of 100 to 80 meters away from each other, and you would be easily spotting the enemy tank, but the enemy won't be spotting you at all. And so that amount of mobility and the paired with the low profile of the tank as well, it allows you to be so much more flexible in terms of the intel games, which you basically trade out for just raw damage that you can output with that tank. But at this point, in this sort of 5v5 setting on Prokhorovka, intel is a much bigger weapon than just your raw damage output.
Okay, now is it going to be a similar thing rolling on to map 2? Is it all about intel, or are we going to see it a little bit closer? Is there a chance we're going to see that 3-1 scoreline come through here, Jordan?
I mean, the game inherently is always about information and intel, and obviously knowing where
Most games
other
are.
tanks are. But I don't think this map is as difficult to gain an understanding of where your opponent is compared to Prokhorovka. Prokhorovka is a very big map. It's a very open map. It can be quite risky to be doing some scouting. With Tundra, you know, it's a little bit of a smaller map. You see a few tanks. You're generally expecting them to be grouped up. So that does help in that department.
Yeah, bit of scouting, bit of shooting, bit of boot scooting. Let's see who wins. Take us in Cthulhu. Who's going to take it? Big prediction from you right now.
Oh, right now, I want to say still Action X, but with the way how that round 2 sort of evolved, I might just have to end up backing out of my initial prediction, really. This is the map, and this is the tank that Dark was able to go absolutely ballistic last week as well on Tundra. This is a little bit of a sort of alarming sign, more so for AX.
Run it back, you reckon?
Run it back, surely. Look, at this point, yes, I'm completely down bad horrendous on my predictions, but at this point, I'm just in for the ride. If Matildas can pull off an absolutely roller coaster of emotions win, with Dark being at the front push with Kiwi Dynamite, sign me up, please, by all means.
Listen, it's all right to be down bad. We've all been down bad at one point.
I mean, look, I already got smited by Mr. Ivory Tower himself already on socials, so I mean, it's only upwards from here, surely.
This has been painful.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Crushed my ego.
Quite a slow attacking side so far from Matildas. Nice to see the push of the day. Love that one.
Nice. We'll love that. We'll love to see that. Respectful. I mean, that is a 10 out of 10 bush. I say this very, very well textured. You know, quite lush. Does provide quite a fair bit of cover as well, and good spotting. So, yeah.
The bush expert. You're the bush expert.
I have been enjoying some light tank gaming as of recently. So yes, I would sort of I would like to proclaim myself as an average bush enjoyer.
You're bush enjoyer. All right. Well, there we go. We learned something today, everyone.
There we go. Yeah. The cat is out of the bag.
The cat is definitely out of the bag. Might be time to put it back in because Matildas are on their rotate now down toward that 2 flag. A little bit of scouting being done by Dark there in the STB1. Hasn't seen too much, so he's called the lads over. Easy 55 of tracks is on the 1 line ready to receive, and a lot of information gathered. CJ and Val, the 2 Super Conquerors, just watching mid. One of them able to sneak a shot through, and of course that means they've spotted the vast majority of the Matildas players on this rotate, so they should pretty much know what's coming. As a result, you can see the IS-7 and the Super Conq starting to make their way down from the northern side of the map.
Rotation. I wonder if it is going to be sort of an IS-7 S-Conq back push on the bridge, and then M454 in the other S-Conq plus the VZ try to just hold off. But I mean, this is borderline exactly what Matildas tried to pull off last week as well. It kind of worked. Gloucester is obviously quite frustrated that he didn't connect that shot onto Kiwi Dynamite. But as it stands, yeah, this is sort of by all means Matildas through and through with the way how they've decided to sort of pull this off. Full send onto the flag, whilst you have 2 to 3 sort of tanks hanging around. It is surprising that that Dark is in the position that he is, and and CJ is about to wait. No, never mind. Pulse champ. Oh, we're good. We clinical.
It was about to fall off. I thought that would have been hilarious to watch. But either way, not going to be the case. Saxon is in a bit of trouble, you're right. Going to get one more shot off, though. No, is the answer. Trax has just deleted him, and this is going to take some salvaging from Matildas. Kiwi Dynamite is in a 1-on-2. He can finish Gloucester off with one more shot, but I'm not sure he'll get that. Dark in that SCV-1 you highlighted needs to be a big factor.
Problem 1 being Dark currently has a damaged ammo rack. Problem 2 is currently Iron Guard is bullying him, and Whippet just about to actually rendezvous with Kiwi Dynamite, so Gloucester may just actually end up being finished, but not before Kiwi Dynamite falls. So, look, for all intents and purposes, this is still a relatively close game, but CJ needs to survive here.
Oh, he is doing a pretty good job of that so far. Dark
Oh
being
my.
1v1 by Iron Guard, taken out of this fight pretty much. CJ eventually does fall to critical kill, but I dare say he's not going to last too much longer. Might get one more shot into Val before he goes down, but end of the day, very successful for Action X. And Matildas, they are going to have some work to do to come back into the tiebreaker.
How was Gloucester alive? He's on 12 HP for the whole matchup when Whippet came around and he's still alive.
Because he's a Chad.
Oh, he is absolutely a Chad, can confirm. But it's just, it's something about the low HP gamers within this matchup of AX versus Matildas. That is just, there's something magical about it. The moment you reach that sort of the low HP point where it's like literally you sneeze on a player and he will perish. It's the fight or flight sort of gets engaged.
Dark's going to get one more shot in there onto Val, but he peeks again. Val, whoa, he bounced. Iron Guard should finish it off right here. Never mind, the HE shot hasn't gone through. Dark able to beat Val on that reload, but inevitably it's done. Action X have got the 2-1 advantage, so they've secured at least the tiebreaker result, which is not a bad shout. But now they want to get themselves the full 3 points and really start to put that extra pressure on the Panthers and make sure the Panthers would have to get a clean win tonight to maintain that equal 3rd, 4th placing.
Yeah, not a bad shout there in Tundra. I was a little bit worried there. Matildas, a couple of shots, if they hit those, then all of a sudden it wouldn't be that the 4 players surviving towards the end. That was ridiculous. The fact that it ended up looking so one-sided, even though the health was so low on a lot of those Action X members. But look, that is a huge relief for them moving into round number 2 on this map over on Tundra. I feel like they just have, they know that they've at least locked in tiebreaker, right? But here, you're looking at Val. He was just doing damage. Look at that, almost 4K for him. Decent accuracy. Everyone working things out. And even CJ, you said that it was crucial he survived. But I think he survived just long enough anyway that everyone else did the job for him. Matilda's just got cleaned up there completely.
Yeah, look, Matilda's definitely felt like they had initially a pretty good plan overall, but just I think they didn't expect that sort of that trio push towards the bridge. They didn't expect the sort of almost chaotic nature that usually it is the Matildas that bring, but it's the Action X that just decided to do that. As well as that, also worth mentioning that they did swap out Donga. I believe it was due to some of the tech issues within the team. But regardless of that, it didn't seem to have phased them a whole lot. Matter of fact, it might have actually given them that sort of, maybe the frustration gave them the boost.
Okay, now having a look at the fantasy points there, Val really rocking up those this map. Are we expecting him to do the same again? So far, I think he's had an okay night, but hasn't really stood out, to a crazy extent for Action X. Are we expecting him to do the same thing going into round 2 of Tundra here, Jordan?
I'd hope so. I think he's definitely going to have to be someone that's going to step up. The change has come in, though, as well. Gloucester is moving out and Dongalord's coming back in. So it was the exchange of Donga for Val for that last round, which was, proven to be quite a good one. Obviously, if he's in a Super Conqueror again, then, yeah, that's the kind of damage numbers that you want to be seeing from him. Gloucester really not happy with that shot. Ultimately, didn't cost Action X in the end. But yeah, I think for me, if anyone's in a Super Conquer, keep your eyes on them. We'll see what tank Donga is going to be playing in. If they bring Donga in, I can only imagine they want to be playing a Bat Chat. So definitely keep an eye on him as well.
Look, Gloucester, real MVP, somehow survived on 12 HP given that and just wrapped around, just drew out so much attention. Really lucky to be alive, but at the same time, look, a little bit of luck goes a long way, especially when you're playing competitive or the tanks, right?
Absolutely. Look, luck goes quite a long way here on a few occasions, but look, gotta say, genuinely, I guess you could call it impressed, surprised, impressed, amused. It's just it's a roller coaster. Yeah, Mac.
Okay, so what do you think the changes are for Matildas going in to the other side? In terms of the composition, are we expecting some different tanks to come through, Jordan, or do you think it's going to be a pretty similar competition to what we just saw?
I think you can run something pretty similar. The only thing I will say is that they are moving on to the defensive side, so yeah, that should be, I mean, look, technically speaking, I think Tundra has been a bit more attacking side favored, so it should be more difficult for them, but they might feel more comfortable moving on to defense because things just to like playing defense. I don't really know exactly why that is, why they pick the defensive side of Tundra when it's the tiebreaker map Cthulhu. But anyway, here we are with Matildas moving on to it. They did actually have a 100% win rate on the attack of Tundra up to that point. So it'll be a tough one to lose, and now they've got to do it, I guess, on the more difficult side of the map. Bring it back.
Don't forget, Jordan, that we also look at the record, at least from last week when it was against Sentinels. Action X did lose their attack as well. So, honestly, I'd probably still say that I think Matilda still have a pretty solid chance. Not sure how did Saxon already take a pinch of damage, which definitely won't really sit too well for him. But all things considered, I actually still rate Matilda's chances here to just equalize the scoreline and for us to go to Himmels. I'll put it even this way. I'll be surprised if Matildas will end up losing here without us going to Himmelsdorf. That's at least my take.
Not going to count my chickens before they hatch. Dongalord is indeed in that bat chat. Makes a lot of sense as to why he's back in today. So, quite the reserved approach from Matildas. In fact, you look at the Matilda setup and it's actually very similar to what Action X had. The M454s up north are not quite as progressed as what we saw from like the IS7s on the behalf of Action X. But with that said, the intention more or less is going to be the same. You obviously are covering all facets. You've got rotates relatively quickly.
Yeah. I think the key point here from AX is just literally going to be playing a little bit of that waiting game, see if Matildas end up sort of pulling something cheeky, pulling something weird. Because the funny thing is that usually you, by this point, as a defender, you would start getting at least one or two ping about, getting spotted, because you would have a heavy tank around the D6. There would be a positioning maybe around the C6, C7, sort of. None of that really has came through from Matildas. Not a single one, apart from Crit, got lit up. So from them, the call would be, well, Amex didn't get lit. Well, as a matter of fact, both of them didn't get lit. So they are probably going to start slowly but surely moving some of the assets down south. That damage for Crit is unnecessary, though. It is absolutely unnecessary for him to keep on peeking here, because at this point, there's Val currently staring at him. There's CJ has a perfect point at him. And Donga is about to rendezvous with Val, who could possibly even have yet another point of view to get another cheeky shot into the cupola of Eskong.
I think he's just trying to get that info into mid, isn't he? But it's costing him a lot of HP. And Action X are happy with the progression so far. They'll spread out across the map again. Just trying to get Dongalord in that bat chat in position to try to put a bit of extra pressure maybe onto Critikill.
Ooh.
Let's manage to slide a nice shot through onto CJ. Good little jiggle peek from him.
Straight into the tippy top of the cupola as well. Yeah, the cupola. Very nice shot.
Marder's in trouble, that's for sure. But in that meanwhile, Dongalord's decided he's just going to rotate his way back off. So what do we go to now for Action X? I think ultimately has to end up on the 2 flag. That sort of does tend to be the go-to point of the map, which you'll see most of the teams defaulting back to if they haven't got like a committed strat toward the 1 flag. It's like, all right, well, we'll try to work the map a little bit, but then ultimately you kind of know they're going to go down towards the 2 side.
Oh, what's funny to me? Well, apart from Val's invisible tank, the fact that the VZ55 of Whippet may have actually took the bait here that Donga actually set up, because the spot of AMX came through, so they were like, oh, okay, so they're probably moving up to the AB line. Psych about that. In comes the cap at the 2nd flag. It's only an M454, so now it's an elaborate bait of 3 tanks sitting at the top of the hill, VZ covering 4 Iron Guard. So unless it's a full-on Unga rush from Matildas, Action X may just be able to hold out, but I say that one line is looking to be very deadly.
I love that that is a word that has sort of worked its way into the World of Tanks vernacular. The Unga Bunga rush, I think, from Matildas might be what they're going to go for here. And Iron Guard, well, he is going to be caught unawares. He's not watching any other direction but the one they're going to come from. But I'm not sure that he's expecting 4 tanks to come rolling around the corner there. It is a pretty good setup, though, from Action X here. And already you're getting the info. Okay, so he isn't going to get caught unawares because Trax is watching that angle, and you're going to start to hopefully see a bit of a rotate in here from Action X. They've got all the info that they need. And now it's down to Iron Guard to just uphold his end of the bargain. A 482 roll is not exactly what he'd be wanting there in the M454. Trax about to come off the reload, but where's all the other tanks from Action X? They need to be coming across now. That bad chat, the Super Conks especially, need to get in this fight, and they have.
Yeah, this is big actually right now. Trax might just be able to hold off because both Whippet and Trax are actually on reload. Kiwi Dynamite may just be able to overpower Val's position plus with him plus Saxon, but it seems like Trax is actually the focus fire sort of target for now. This is a perfect actually set up. I'm not too sure where Donga is. Donga needs to join in on this fight. He needs to start dishing out damage, namely to critical, so that CJ would be able to focus on players like Saxon, on players like Whippet, because as it stands, Trax needs to stay alive as much as possible. Finally, Saxon falls. So as it stands, both teams still have a very fat chance here to be able to come out the victor here.
I think this one should be going the way of Action X, though. Kiwi Dynamite will go down to the next shot from Val, if not Trax. And of course, Dongalord's going to win that 1v1 against the Super Conqueror every day of the week. He was half HP. And Dongalord, he's just not going to fumble the bag like that. It is now just down to Whippet, who's got a couple of good shots in there with the VZ55. But it is unfortunately all done and dusted. And it's going to be Action X that walk away with the win today. Matilda's not getting enough done. And boy, they look pumped, don't they, Mac?
Oh, they were ecstatic. I saw Val smile, even laugh at the end. So looks like Action X really happy with that dub. Over the top of Matildas. Unfortunately, even though Matildas did get that win last week, we're not going to see them back it up this week. So look, 3-1. That's pretty solid. And Action X now, who were they on the scoreboard? They were about fourth, weren't they? Fourth or fifth?
Yeah, they were just in a tiebreaker contesting with the third place of Panthers right now.
So it looks like they've jumped up for the moment. Panthers still yet to play, so we'll see how they go. But having a look at the stats here, anything you want to touch on, Jordan? Are you happy with the fantasy points you got from anyone you had in these teams?
Yeah, I'm not sure how it's going to work out because I do have Dongalord in the roster, but he only played 3 games. And Critical and Dark both played 4. I've got Dark on my bench. I'm not sure if Dark's going to get the nod over Dongalord. I'm not sure how exactly it works. I think it tries to give you the player that played the most games, not the player that gave you the most points. I'm not sure how exactly it worked out, but I don't think anyone really went above and beyond in this series, to be honest. Like, it hasn't really felt like it's been dominated by one particular player. So it's kind of a hard one to get a lot of fantasy points out, I think. But decent little shout there from Dongalord in the last game. Saw some decent stuff as well from Critical in round 2, but yeah, nothing that's made me go wow just yet.
Now, mileage is just because I feel like I haven't seen this screen too often. That's just how far they traveled throughout the game, right? Throughout this last match. Yeah, cool. So Dongalord actually went on an adventure.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a very important statistic, actually, because you really want to know which of those players are driving around the most. It used to be one of my favorite to kind of keep an eye on. Yeah, it's important.
And look, got
How many
damage
vroom
out.
been done?
Got that elim through as well. Now, anything you would have liked to have seen Matildas do differently going into this one? Of course, look, Whippet tried his heart out towards the end to make things work, but in the 1-on-3, that's always going to be a bit difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, honestly, look, I gotta say, Matildas could have executed this a whole lot more gracefully. I'll say that. Having some sort of pressure to come around from the town, for example, to be able to pincer and eliminate the position of Iron Guard way quicker would have been a great play. Apart from, well, on top of that as well, it's the fact that sort of Matilda's kind of almost baited themselves out the way that Whippet decided to completely abandon his position, which sort of ended up costing the initial momentum and caused a whole lot of problems. So yeah, look, there's been a whole lot of issues sort of arising for Matildas in the way how they have executed Tundra specifically. And I mean, look, we're talking about, you know, the downfall of Matildas here. We're talking about the fact that throughout the whole second map, Blue Panda has been in my DMs absolutely molding about his prediction.
Beautiful. You absolutely love to hear it. You love to see it. Now, I think we've almost got an interview ready. I think we actually have it ready. We've got Donga on the line. Donga, please tell us how you're feeling after that win.
I'm pretty excited. 2 wins back to back now, so I think the team and I are very excited. On a little bit of a streak.
Yeah, good.
Pretty
Good.
solid.
It's looking good actually as well. I mean, I think there's definitely potential for at least a top 3 finish for you guys this season. But I want to know, you guys are making a lot of like roster changes in series, so you're sort of swapping an individual out for each game. Is that based on any specific reason, or are you just doing that for fun, or is it kind of like position-based things?
No, so there's little bugs in the game that Mateo is refusing to fix at the moment. And when we exit games, we have to restart our games, and it takes too long to load back in. So we're having to just swap in and out of whoever's got the bug. So it makes it a bit annoying because you have to kind of change the strats on the fly because you don't have like the bat chat player or easy player.
Yeah, I mean, because that's what I noticed, because I thought, like, in that third game, it was like, oh, maybe they just don't want to run a batch out for some reason, so Dong was going to sit on the side. But then you came back, and yeah, anyway, that clears that up.
Look, Donga, run me through Proc, because look, I'll be genuinely honest with you. When I first saw the map picks, I was a little bit confused. Is probably the one of the words to describe about just how things were looking. I believe it was the second round where the 2 M454s are going completely unnoticed on the 1-2 line. Kind of, what was that sort of? How closely were you expected that to happen, or was it even an expectation in any shape or form?
We kind of thought it might happen. Them creeping up as far as it was on me. I was a bit hesitant to go back into a more forward bush, which would have seen it a lot earlier just because of the T100. And yeah, my hesitation meant that they were able to creep up far enough unlit. Obviously, the VZ in mid, and then also pretty much be able to free pick Gloucester.
Fair enough.
Okay. Now, I guess the goal for you guys is to make it to the finals, right? How likely do you think that's going to happen? There's a few weeks left. Are you feeling good, or are you not liking your chances right now?
I'm feeling good. I think chances are pretty good, but once again, it's a game on RNG, and anything can happen between now and the end of the season. So,
All right, very good. And boys, any more questions before we let Donga go?
Let him go.
Let
Get out of here and
you go.
celebrate.
Get out of here. Go sink a couple. It's Friday afternoon. You got some time, and we'll see you next week, big man.
yeah, thank you very much.
So Donga, pretty happy with that one. And as you mentioned, look, there is a lot of RNG in this game, and things can happen. Things can get crazy. So keen to see if Adelaide Action X can make it to the finals. I'd love to see it. You know, they're kind of sitting there. What's your take on it, Cthulhu? Because I feel like there's a pretty good chance, you know, when it gets as deep as it is. But do you think that they're going to be that little bit better than the Panthers, or do you think the Panthers can pull through?
Oh, look, I gotta say, Panthers might just have a pretty good chance here. Although, with the way how sort of the general sort of swing of things been going, with the way how we are looking at sort of at a face value how Comet's been progressing in their own sort of storyline, they have been improving from day in, day out. So despite their losses, despite the absolutely, unfortunate sort of track record up until today, they have still a very much of a realistic chance to cause an upset here.
Okay, well, let's see. We got to get into match number 2. And to get there, we've got to go to a break. So, ladies and gents, don't go too far. NZPL Series 2 of the day coming up just after the break.
And Trax is playing this really well right now, trying to figure out how they can dig out Cindy. They know that the Batchat has flanked, but Trax is going to take that shot any day of the week. Yeah. I mean, Action X actually playing this perfectly, where they use a bit of a surprising strategy. Obviously, 2 VZs and a Batchat to contest the very common CS position over there at the Rock at about F3, G3. They take donut control. They don't bleed out early on around Cliff. And as a result, they're able to leverage the tank advantage and AHP advantage to a victory. He's going to use a repair kit. If he gets tracked, that is it. He can't get out. He won't get tracked, though. They need to pick CJ.
Might just,
They need to pick CJ on the side of the Sentinels. The scenario is somehow flipped again.
That is the funniest part about it all, which is the way how it's about to go. But it seems like it's a full-blown push overmatch, at least the numbers, and hope to get some burst damage in, given that the 50B is alive. So Rainbow and Cindy need to be the first ones to be on the chopping block here, as already the damage starts to sink in. That's a perfect focus fire.
This is like, there was no way the Sentinels were going to come back and win that. I'm sorry to say, like after that Wymbo got picked, after their positioning, there was nothing they could really do. The key here is how fast the AMXs can get rid of the opponents pushing in, because Dongalord has to be the focus point. If Dongalord is allowed to stay alive and they're allowed to pick this Minotaur, then problem's going to happen.
Gloucester though needs to sink at least one more shot before he's felled, because this is where problems will be mounting. Unfortunately for him, no shots, no damage landed. CJ forced now to actually push in, so is Donga, well, he's being pushed and eliminated.
It's what they needed to do. Like that's what AMXs were designed to be in that position, to make sure the Minotaur couldn't be overdumped, and the Sentinels are really rewarded for a victory on that. The Sentinels have bled out way too much, and the Action X have actually successfully found the overmatches. And sure, the Sentinels are going 3 tanks into 2 right now, but the HP difference is just so low at this stage. I don't know how Return's still alive, but I mean, 3k HP the difference right now. They're going to try and get the pick onto Donga. They're trying to get away from the Minotaur in CJ, but I don't think there's any escaping. They need to cut in. They need to cut in, because the correct response for the Scorpions is to actually dump in. But because they're not dumping in, they're actually stuck in a crossfire. Now they're pushing forward, but now stuck in the middle ridge. It allows a lot of farm to go through, and Aussie is not part of the fight just yet.
All of a sudden, well, the 3-party that managed to cut in is all that is left.
And by the time the Comets actually forced into the position where they need to make a play, they can't do anything. So, pretty quick victory.
Now needs to stay alive for as long as possible, because with Power now getting rid of, well, one of the tanks, that's JT gone. Mendican now falls, Atheron falls. Now Aussie has came in like a cavalry, and it's all sort of, well, once again fell apart for Comets City.
The Scorpions really understand on where they need to be to make sure they can support their teammates at all moments, understand where the priority targets are. Pretty unfortunate for the Comets as well. One of the tanks, I think Mendican actually in the I-7 gets set on fire there over to the south. And we're seeing it once again. They're not phased by the fact there's a bat chat over there in STB1. They understand what's going on. They rotate around accordingly, and they just farm up an absolute storm from there. Here we go. The action is going to commence. The Stipe's going to be the pick over here, but Raspberry gets ignited, and he's going to lose a lot of HP for that peak. They have to commit in here, but Comets, they're up by 3,000, 2,000 HP. Really good chance for them to close it out. Even though Stipe's the pick, they've got Super Conks to back this up.
Yeah, this is actually still a pretty decent push to come around from the Scorpions, but yeah, the sheer abundance of HP though to come around from Comets should still allow quite a fair bit of leeway here. If Napalm falls or Knight falls, this could be a good opportunity here. Stipe just needs to stay alive.
Yeah, Russian I think just needs to try to take down one of these tanks. This is going to help a little bit. The 50B is still out in play right now. Aussie, this is a good call from Mendicant just to be dumping in and just focusing down, obviously, the IS-4. Aussie has to divert his attentions over towards there. And the Ignite as well. 2 Ignites coming in tonight.
So already in comes the push. Bale's actually deciding to go in for a bit of a wider swing this time. So the 2 AMX is going for the swing around. Twit trying to follow suit, but a lot of damage actually being sunken into one of the M4's 54s. As it stands, Crit and Kiwi Dynamite actually managed to put in quite a fair bit of damage as well towards the Panthers, denting them even further now that Goober is off the plate.
Now he's on reloaded, and now's Dark to actually come in and get some shots into his ex-teammate in Madhouse. Whippet will follow up with a shot from behind as well to make it a very easy pick, ultimately, for the Matildas over there towards the valley.
Each and every shot needs to count here.
Yeah, 20 seconds. I don't think JS can survive for long enough, though. Needed an exceptional roll and some bad RNG going in Critical's favor, but there's no bad RNG over here for the Matildas. Oh my goodness, JS is getting absolutely deleted, but now in comes the overmatch, and this is the problem I was talking about.
Yeah, this is where the issues are certainly going to be. The fact that Crit and Kiwi Dynamite actually falling back right behind the rock produces a great cover position for the Panthers to really play around. Yeah, with Kiwi Dynamite falling, Crit is next on a chopping block.
Brings it to a 3-4. HP relatively equal, which means that the guns need to be really important. And the problem is one of them is an autoloader, of course. Now the Panthers are going to be diving in on each isolated target. He's just trying to stay alive as long as possible and sell his life, but it's just not going to be enough. But just not enough HP being bled out meant that ultimately they had too many tanks still in the fight. I don't think they should push in just yet. I think they need to still play around the cap a little bit longer and force the Panthers into making a bad decision. Obviously,
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the ANZPL. We've got a second series to jump on into as the Panthers up against the Comets, and I can't wait to dive in to see if we're going to get another upset and if Panthers can keep up with Action X, or if Comets are going to keep them away and allow us to have some more separation in the leaderboard. Initial thoughts on this one, Jordan. Tell me, what do you think's going to happen here?
I have no idea, mate. I've got no idea because every single time I make a prediction, it seems to be wrong. Or
Beautiful.
not all of them. I've got my correct prediction today correct, right? I've got the Action X. I've got that one in the books. It's locked in. So probably what's going to happen from now is Comets is going to win and then Scorpions is going to win.
Okay.
Because I really only seem to be able to get one a day. And I actually think there is a world where that is possible. I mean, Comets have been on the up and up, I think, and Panthers have... I mean, I liked Panthers from the outset of the season, but they've been a little bit shaky here and there. So I don't know how confident I am in my prediction here. I really want to see peak Panthers coming in today and kind of having a good solid game, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Well, I did see that Blue Panda was slightly out in the lead, and he went with the Matildas that game, right? So that means that we would have jumped up and caught up. I think I can't remember if he was 1 or 2 ahead. I think he might have only been okay. All thought up. Love it. Love to see it. Thanks, Jordan. I did copy Jordan's predictions today. So, I mean, no, I didn't. I knew
worries,
exactly
mate.
what I was doing with my predictions. Now,
Love
let's start to talk shop. Let's start to talk these teams. Who do we want to talk about first? Is it going to be Panthers? Cthulhu? You want to tell me about Panthers real quick?
My mic is dead. Very poggers. Okay, we are back now.
I can hear
we
you,
should be back.
Cthulhu.
Yeah. So now everyone can hear me because
Very good.
it is it is I who done goofed. But yeah, Panthers, a team that gotten quite a substantial upgrade in the recent days with the introduction of Bales, with the introduction of Madhouse as well. It's a roster that actually very easily could contest for the top 3, but in their more recent performances, it's been a bit of a sloppy game from them, where it's just between unfortunate gravity problems of Madhouse flipping to just teams, the whole team just not really having the right coordination after those sort of plays. So I definitely think that players like Bales, players like Twit, players like JS and Madhouse should be able to really push this roster to the maximum. I mean, even if then you need to sub in some of the people, God Mode, Dastardly, Goober can do a lot of damage here.
Now, Jordan, quickly tell me, thinking about the Panthers at the start of the season, if you compare them to how they've done over the last 6-7 weeks or so, are you expecting more from them? Did they, work up to expectations, or do you think that they're pretty much underperforming right now?
I don't know that I would say they're underperforming right now. I think I did have very high expectations of this team. They are still in 3rd place, I guess, depending on how today goes. If they drop out of the top 3, that's where I think I'll say, yes, definitely they have underperformed to sort of my expectations. But as long as they can maintain top 3, then I'm kind of happy with what I'm getting from them. I think they did have a couple of really good pickups, so I was hoping for a really good season from them. And it can still be that. Like, it's not gone just yet, but it hasn't exactly gone 100% to plan. So, bit of column A, bit of column B. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt still, but tonight's a big matchup for them. If they do lose this one, then that's going to be some real questions asked.
Well, let's start to talk about the Comets and see what our thoughts are. Cthulhu, tell me, what are they going to be able to do, and can they abuse anything that we've seen from the Panthers over the last couple of weeks?
Honestly, I reckon Comets could. Comets could just, in general, as long as they can just nail their general comms and, nail their counting game, I think they could very much, work out. and make it work really, really well. I mean, you have players like PP Power himself, the big old captain of the team, Stife, Safi, Atherin, that has been coming in rather big. Mendicant as well, plus Dark Knight has been seeing some really impressive games whenever they do get to pop off. And then obviously you have the veteran, technically, of the scene, AVP, who once in a blue moon actually pops up as well, and he can bring a really good sort of level-headedness to the roster, introducing a little bit of more experience, a little bit more of that sort of understanding of just the longer, sort of the wider spectrum of the game.
Now, going in towards the map vetoes, we're not quite there yet, but what would you expect Comets need to slide through, Jordan, if you want to see them pull this sort of upset win today?
I mean, just looking at their map pool, it's actually been quite a diverse map pool. Like, I think they're actually one of the teams that has gone towards and played every single map in the pool, which not every single team can say they have done. It seems like they like to go toward Himmelsdorf a little bit, so that potentially is going to be a bit of an avenue of attack for them if that's not banned out. It's not a great map for the Panthers either, so, I mean, if they can get Himmelsdorf, then that's going to be really good news, but I'd say there's probably a good chance Himmelsdorf does get banned here by the Panthers. So, short of that, I mean, it doesn't really seem like there's an obvious choice necessarily beyond Himmelsdorf. It's going to end up being Ghost Town. I suppose we've seen some pretty good stuff from them on Ghost Town in the past as well, but it's definitely not a map that they have got to a lot so far this season. So, not a huge data set to really look at.
Okay, well, here's the map picks. So, speaking about those maps, do we think this favors anyone in particular, Cthulhu? Because we already saw Prokhorovka in that first series of the day, but we're going to see the Comets change it up with Ghost Town.
I'm gonna be honest. I have a bit of a mixed feeling about this one. Just quickly peeking over at the last matchup as well. Prokhorovka actually did not go particularly too well for Comets, so this could actually be an opportune time for Panthers to actually farm up themselves some points. But look, maybe Ghost Town could actually work out, because I think Ghost Town was one of the maps where Panthers sort of fell through. So assuming that this is sort of the idea behind the pick for the Comets, Himmelsdorf, I'd probably more so for Panthers if it does come down to the Himmelsdorf.
Okay, what about you, Jordan? Do you think if we go all the way to the tiebreak, you're picking Panthers, or do you expect this to be won in the first two maps?
I think if we go to Himmelsdorf, I'd probably give it to Comets just based on their previous histories on this map.
Okay.
But as to whether or not we are going to go there, I'd probably back Panthers to get this one done 3-1. I think, yeah. I'd give them a 2-0 on Proc and then 1-1 at least on Ghost Town.
All right, now, I guess that leads us in towards the head-to-head here. So having a quick look at Bales. Cthulhu, do you want to tell me about him and why we've selected him?
Look, Bales has been one of those, almost the prophesized, saviors of the whole universe at this point, at least according to Elfish Guy at the beginning of the season. But in all honesty, he has done all the due diligence. I mean, the way how he managed to play out whatever the tank he's been given by the team, he's been able to do a pretty decent job, whilst yes, not as stellar as, again, we sort of expected, but in the full reality of it, he done a perfect job for all things considered. So you put him on mediums, he will do still a very consistent, very stable job at spotting, dishing out the damage. Whilst, yes, probably not the top of the leaderboard damage, but it would still be on par with the rest of the team. You put him on the heavy, he'll do the job. It's in a very sort of similar outline borderline with what I've been talking about Dark for Matildas. He's the person who gets the job done.
Now, Jordan, anything to say about Bales before we have a quick check-in with PP Power?
Bales is hot and sexy.
Oh, on that note, let's have a look at PP
Right.
Power as well. Is he also hot and sexy? Tell me.
Yep.
Beautiful. Now tell me about his stats and what
Great.
do you think of him as a player?
Yeah, look, I actually think across the board, the Comets have been a really, really good team. You've sort of seen these individuals not really seem to struggle at all coming into the season. Look, the total win rate overall, as far as the battles are concerned, is not ideal, but the output is pretty solid. I think the more you see of these players, the more likely they're going to be to sort of be players that we'll be talking about a lot over the course of ANZPL in the next couple of years. So, yeah, really good additions to this season, I think.
Well, it looks like it's time to jump on into Proc again to kick off series number 2 of the night. Let's see how it goes. Cthulhu, tell me, what's your favorite tank?
Favorite tank? Ooh, that's a good one. I think at the moment I'm actually fancying myself a little bit of the... What have I actually been fancying myself? Actually, a little bit of the IS-7 gaming, really. You know, you got the agility, you got the troll armor, you got the troll gun that basically toys with your own nerves and nerve system. So, look, you get the full roller coaster experience.
Indeed. CS63 for Bales. Not really a fan. Get him in a bat chat. Bat chat goat. CS63.
That's every time you talk about Bales
I
and
know.
CS63,
I just hate the
completely
CS63.
dumpster
I just hate the CS63. I like the bat chat. Bat chat
Yeah,
for life, bro.
I'm on the opposite here. I've been enjoying the CS63 gaming, and for what it's worth, I reckon on prog, I'm actually more sold with the CS rather than the bat chat. Bring bat chat on something like Ghost Town, absolutely, sign me up.
Look, I think you're probably a little bit more correct than I am in this case, but I am
I was expecting
a
an
being
L
that
ratio.
is driven by bias, so we'll just
understandable.
leave it there. Panthers have given up full control of the eastern side of the train tracks, and Comets are quite happy to take that for free. They've obviously eaten a shot there onto AVP, and Madhouse, he's getting away with a little bit there. By not taking any damage at all. But this is a good setup for Comets. Now it's just going to have to be a case of getting someone onto the cap and try to put a bit of pressure on Panthers and start to force them to come to you.
You know, only now just got spotted, and he's able to get a scot-free shot into Twit's back of the head. That has actually worked out to be actually a very solid flank, all things considered. Before I even got to really blink, Comets were already they took the whole right side of the map pretty evenly. Dark Knight as well as being able to contest with Madhouse pretty well, given just how oddly fun MXM454 looks contesting against the S-Conqueror. So, yeah, look, I mean, for all intents and purposes, you got the right person for the right job, it seems, given the stats.
I mean, for me, Dark Knight's been someone that I've sort of half considered putting onto my fantasy team, but then I'm like, I just don't know. Like, I just don't know. There's a lot of hard players to replace, I find.
Yeah,
So-
true. But for me, it's usually the choice between Power or Dark Knight. Both of them are quite sturdy in their performances. So, I mean, you put Dark Knight on, I mean, what? He's, how many stars?
3-star.
Dark Knight he's a 3-star, so that is a solid pick. And I mean, you have PP Power on 2 stars as well. You're getting some good bang for the buck.
Yeah, I think for me it's between Dark Knight and Aussie because they're both 3 stars. But
Well, but I mean,
there's
with
a little bit of that experience factor.
Yeah, but I mean, within just the Comets, if we're talking strictly Comets, then yeah. But I absolutely agree with you. Aussie absolutely brings even bigger bang for the buck. So yeah, you're absolutely correct here.
Twit has just eaten a big chunk of damage. And to be honest, Panthers, they're not doing too poorly, right? They haven't let out a huge amount of HP. Cap pressure's not really coming over just yet. But Comets are going to push the issue, and they know Twit is now pretty low, so they're just going to send it straight over the train tracks, not only onto Twit, but also on the southern side of this engagement too. Twit is definitely a dead man. The question is going to be, though, whether or not Dark Knight can survive, and Twit, you get one more shot off here. Mendicant will slide it through. It ends up being a 2-for-1. That might not be the end of the discussion just yet, because JS is going to slide one through onto Atherin, and now we're back to the 3-on-3. Dastardly, definitely a dead man here, and does he even have the gun depression to get the shots in onto AVP? It's not going to matter, because the long shots come through from Stife and Mendicant, and that is now Panthers really struggling.
Yeah, Panthers are definitely struggling here. Comets showing a really good round, though, and it is a genuine sort of pleasure seeing them, you know, just almost play in harmony. Ignite as well from AVP is just the cherry on top at this point. Poor Bale's just not having a fun time at all. So, all things considered, this is an amazing start for Comets.
It is indeed very, very good stuff. Really decisive call to go over the railroad tracks as well. And that's what I like about Comets, is they're a team that I think in the earlier weeks, probably wouldn't have made a call like that, but now that they've become a little bit more comfortable, they've been playing together for a little while, they kind of know their limitations. They're more prepared to make calls that are going to win them the games, and that was a really good one. They knew that they'd let the damage out onto a couple of the key members of Panthers, and they were not going to throw away that opportunity. Surely this is unwinnable for Bales. I mean, 2v1. If he can cross,
Don't
which
forget,
he won't be able to.
Comets were in that very similar position on Prokhorovka early on, if you remember the infamous Atherin clutch.
They've missed.
How is
They've actually
Bales
missed.
surviving all of that? My god. No shot, he wins out.
I think he's gone dark.
No way.
Or he's about to go dark, is he?
Yeah.
Still
Oh, no, wait.
spotted as far as the mod is concerned, but
Yeah, Stife hasn't
Yeah.
spotted, but he's
Yeah.
out of the range of the 277. So technically now it's even ground, but Bales is about to. Yeah,
those are my fantasy
Bales.
points you're throwing away right there. Not happy with that. Needs to
Sad.
get one more shot through here. Did he bounce that too?
He bounced that.
Bales is no longer sexy.
On that note, knowing that he's no longer sexy, Cairns Comets really going to be shutting him down and taking the dub on round number 1. I think they're going to be very happy with that. I know I'm pretty happy. I always love an underdog win. And even if I get my prediction wrong, I'm still going to be happy. Because I do remember Comets, they came out. I think they got that upset win. Was it this team that got the upset win in week 1? I think it was.
I don't think Comets got the upset win in week 1. I don't think they won
didn't?
week 1. Oh, did they? They might have.
I think
That
they
might
did.
have.
Yeah, was it
Because
against?
everyone
it
was
was
like,
against
"Oh my God."
Matildas. It was against Matildas, wasn't it? And it was a tiebreaker. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, yes. It was a 3-2, yeah.
It was
That
a
is true.
crazy game. Crazy game. So they're looking to, rustle some more feathers today, as we did see the Panthers. Well, I guess it's not feathers. The Panthers. But doing a good job there. Now, do you expect Comets to take round 2? Are we going to see him make more decisive calling? Or, going into that opposite side, are things going to, is the dynamic going to change, Jordan?
I mean, look, I think the dynamic definitely does change as to whether or not they can get the 2-0. If they continue to play like that, then yeah, definitely. Like decisive calls. They are going to be moving on to the defense as well, which I think traditionally would be a little bit of an easier side to play on Prokhorovka than the attack. So, yeah, all signs point to yes. If they can win on the attack, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say they can win on the defense too.
Okay, we'll having a look at the stats here. Stifle doing big damage. Bales on the opposite side. Look, could have done a bit more, apparently, according to Jordan. But with the 93% accuracy, that could have been 100 if he didn't miss those last 2 shots. Now, how's that make you
Exactly.
feel, Jordan?
Mad.
Mad, outraged, just distraught. How many extra fantasy points would that have been if he got an extra, 600 damage?
He
there?
could
Would
have
it been,
he could have got an
85?
extra 2 shots in. So
Yeah.
I reckon that would have been probably another 10, 15 points. He could have got 100. He could have maybe got 100.
And he was,
You could hear the genuine frustration.
I'm mad. It's a scam.
Oh,
Listen,
yeah, it
Bales
was
is a 4-star pick.
huge
We've got
scam.
high expectations, all right?
Does anyone have Stifle? He was rocking the triple digits for the fantasy points there.
I'm actually the clan that was about to pick him, but ended up picking P Power. He's not even
Ooh.
playing.
He's not even playing. Unfortunate decision making coming out of you there, Cthulhu.
Hell.
Now, look, going into not only round 2, if they do manage to make it happen here on the defense, then they're going to their map pick of Ghost Town. Are we looking at 3-1? Did they do enough already in round number 1 to sort of make what we weren't expecting to happen, Jordan?
I don't know. I mean, what do you think, Because I feel like you've got something more to say here than me, to be honest.
Honestly, I want to say that I'd wait until the end of the round 2, because we've seen this sort of start before. We've seen Comets introduce a phenomenal first round and then completely get warmed out of existence. I mean, the best case in point is their game against Sentinels. I mean, remembering the first round of Cliff, it was absolute clinic. And then second round came around, Sentinels completely wrapped it all up in no time. So if they come out with a 2-0, absolutely, sign me up for Comets train all the way.
Well, one more question before we jump on into round 2. Which of these skins, which of these camos do you like more? Because I really loved that Panthers one. That Comets one, the color scheme. I'm
Actually,
really
the
enjoying
Comets
that.
one
Colours
is
are good.
goated. Yeah, it's
Yeah?
goated.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
got it.
Well, on that note,
Absolutely.
Comets, they've got the cool skins, they've got wins, and they're looking to find another one going into Proc for round number 2. Talk to me, Jordan.
Have they got the spins though? That's the question. We're going to see any donuts. I don't know. Maybe not. Defense start though for Comets this time around. Dark Knight on the bat chat and a CS63 in there as well. So quite a bit of mobility on the defensive side. Panthers, they do still have Bales in the CS63, but everyone else has gone on to a heavy tank.
Oh,
Bales hasn't spotted Stife or Dark Knight.
this
But he's been
is
spotted.
actually posing to be quite a rather spicy round. For a brief moment, I thought that both S-Conks would actually go to the right side, so this would have been a completely, cut in half map, and we're going borderline full-on close quarters engagement here. But I mean, the setup that is coming out of Comets right now, I don't hate it at all. They got a pretty good vision. They will be able to contest the west side of the map, and sort of from there on out, it should be a relatively fun game to watch for us.
What is this? What is this? Why have they done him like that? That's not very nice. Hey, at least he doesn't die 100% of the time. That's pretty good. Panthers have gone from one side of the map to the other. They've made a read. They've seen 3 tanks there, and they've said, we're not interested. We're just going to take the one flag. Fair enough. Not a bad call. But they don't know where Dark Knight or Stife are still.
Curious.
Curious indeed.
Because theoretically, actually, Panthers might have actually gone for the big brain read here, sort of realizing that Comets sort of favored that sort of the village side of the map. That rotation actually could be rather big. Dastardly, bit of a wide cross, I'll have to admit. So might just be able to suffer 1 or 2 more shots to his side, which won't particularly really roll out quite nicely for him. But actually, he seems to be just sticking around to the ball. So
Yeah.
he's that sort of bumper to hold him.
It's a good shot from, I think it was Dastardly that got the shot into Atherin there. Not an easy one to connect through the train carts. This has allowed Panthers to take full control of the one flag position. They've got an IS-7 on there as well, so we'll get some resets in there as well without committing. Overall, not a bad start to the round for Panthers. You'll like the way this is playing out, particularly with the damage that's being done to Atherin.
Yeah.
Comets continue to bleed. They're going to find it really difficult to get reliable resets. The only point of difference that they have, the big advantage that they've got, is they've got a Batchat and a CS63 that can work through the southern side of the map, whereas Panthers obviously only have their own CS63 to defend with. So Bales is kind of having to do a bit of heavy lifting here. He's going to have to get a 2-for-1 deal.
That's a
The
problem,
rotation
though.
coming in from Madhouse.
That's a problem, though, Elfish. Right now, Bales is only there for spotting. Batchat and the CS of Comets, they woke up and they chose the violence. They are looking to absolutely find some damage and take a few doors off the hinges.
Yeah, they chose getting farmed, I think, actually. Because Stife, he's down to 900 HP. Bales is just double bushed and he's farming them.
Wait, hold
Madhouse
on,
is
what?
there as well. Dastardly is there. I mean, this is not a crossfire that I want to be driving into if I'm Comets. Bales, yeah, he's happy to take the 1v1 now. And
What
Dark
happened to
Knight's
that
just
push?
driving around.
Comets went in a matter of a few seconds from a team that, oh yeah, they dead set. They're gonna go, go in numbers to take on somebody like Dastardly, to completely losing their head, driving around like headless chickens, and exactly that has happened. Stife got farmed. Dark Knight already got taken down to 2/3 of HP. This is, yeah, look, Comets
I
went
don't think that
from
they
hero
knew.
to zero very quickly.
I don't think that they knew Bales was so far south. And they didn't realize that they were walking into a crossfire. And by the time they'd committed, it was too late to get that information, because that was when he started shooting at them. And that was when Stife was pretty much put on half HP. And then they realized they were driving into 2 Super Conquerors as well as a CS63, which is never going to go well. So it's just a bit of a misread, I think, from Comets there, to be honest. And Panthers are going to be able to bounce back off of the result of it pretty quick smart.
Remembering the game against Sentinels. Yeah, remembering the game against Sentinels here, Jordan. The first round that went really, really well. Comets managed to catch their opponents off guard. Second round and from there on out, felt like it was kind of just all falling through. Same stuff is happening here. Comments unfortunately couldn't really get a firm grasp on whatever that was happening when whatever this round was. But at the very least, look, I still got to say that they managed to show a good read back on their own attack. So suppose we could call them the attacker-sided team.
I guess so. It's fair.
Yeah, seems legit.
Yeah, an AVP even trade one tank down at this point. It's unlikely at the moment.
Farm damage.
Yeah,
Honestly.
try to farm some fantasy points for all the AVP pickers. I think AVP had a lot of people picking him last season. I'm not sure about this season. There you go, 3k damage from AVP. Not the end of the world, but obviously Panthers are able to equalize, and they're happy with it. Good times.
Job's not done for either of the teams. We're going to Ghost Town. So, look, round number 1, not going to be the decider and still a chance for the tiebreaker to come through. How likely that's going to be, not too sure, but it looked like Panthers were ready for anything there on the attacking side. And Comets, they just dropped the ball. And look, that stat that came up on the side saying Stifle did die 0.91% of the time, 91% of the time. That went up again because he died first. He got caught in that crossfire and got absolutely obliterated.
Probably
so
like 9.2 now, 0.92.
It's been, what, 5-6 weeks, at least 2, 3 times, 2 or 3 times 6, Jordan. And probably
100%.
100%? Okay, he's died 100% of the time.
There we go. Perfect.
Amazing. Now, look,
Amazing.
that's a good stat. Now, what are we expecting going into Ghost Town? Do we think Comets are just too strong at that map? How are Panthers looking? And before we jump into that discussion, screw it. Bales, there's that damage you were asking for, Jordan. There's the fantasy points. Is that why he's on your team?
Yeah. I mean, this is a little bit more like it, Bales. If he keeps this up, maybe he can come back next week. It just looks very painful on the side of Comets, though, doesn't it? 3 players in the single digits. Hasn't gone well for them at all. Dark Knight and Stife don't even get a single point of damage out. That's really not fun. And they were the ones that were kind of like leading that charge. Well, it kind of reminded me of watching your games, to be honest, Matt. They just drove across a field in front of a bunch of tanks and said, please shoot me. And that's what happened. They were like, okay, well, I guess we're getting shot.
Well, yeah. I can't defend myself there. I'm an idiot. I'm bad at tanks. But I'm learning, and we're having fun, and that's what matters. As long as you're having a good time, everyone's having a good time, except for Medicant, Dark Knight, and of course Stifle there. So look, they are hoping to probably have bigger games going into Ghost Town. Look, AVP still did a lot of damage, but he can't be the only one lifting for the Comets, or they could be in trouble. Panthers, of course, they're still looking to tie things up in 3rd on the leaderboard, and they need this win more than ever. But having a quick look at the replay, is there anything you would have liked to seen differently? His Stifle getting caught out again. Like, he decides, look, screw Bales, I'm going for him, but he just can't get anywhere near him there. Stifle just gets mopped up completely.
I'm going to be honest, just decisiveness in the way how Comets wanted to play, because the initial setup with that double medium push towards Dastardly to try to eliminate him looked promising and looked good. Sign me up, by all means. Whatever that happened to them all of a sudden straight after that, I'm clueless about what happened there. Why couldn't they find their right sort of mojo, their right jam, whatever it was. They lost it completely, lost in a source, lost in a context. And you sort of look at it as, well, say Ghost Town goes the way how it did in the round 2, this is going to be a very tragic decline for Comets after the sheer abundance of hype that we just gave them.
Yeah, so hopefully they can live up to the hype. They can make round 1 of Ghost Town look a little bit more clean. What are we expecting in terms of the tank composition, Jordan, going into Ghost Town? Do things change up? Is it that different of a map, or are we expecting it to be pretty similar to what you see there on Prov?
I think it probably could be fairly similar. Like, I think you're definitely going to be seeing double Super Conks out or double M454s. You're probably going to get a bat shot on either side. I know Dark Knight and Bales both like to go toward it, so expecting that on Ghost Town. And then as far as the next couple of tanks, you know, maybe an E100 here or there, IS-7, 277. It sort of just depends on the position. Looks like Well, I'm way off. We've got a few Super Conks in there, but we didn't get a single Bat Chat, so it's a very heavy-oriented lineup. The M454 does show its head up there as well, but Dark Knight has gone for a quasi Bat Chat. He's gone for the 50B. It's about as good. Not as good, but it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, the output is still pretty solid, all things considered, and it's still a pretty mobile tank. Not as low of a profile as that you would have wanted, but position of GS. I'm loving this because this is the same sort of play that managed to actually counter the last Ghost Town. I'm having memory blanks as to who managed to play it out last time, but it was when we got to see it, it was genuinely amusing to watch it because the similar sort of assault initially was mounting to have that presence on that north hill where JS is holding, but because of that extra presence, that basically meant that good luck being able to take any sort of positioning, any sort of play. Actually, matter of fact, I think this was back in 30th of September Playday that we got to see. I'm just quickly scrolling it through. It was actually Matildas versus Comets. And it was the Matildas that won over Comets. Oh, wait, sorry, pardon me, the other way around. Comets won over Matildas.
Fair enough. Well, we'll see how this one ends up playing out. It's a lot of HP to chew through. That is for sure. Double Super Conk, 277 IS4 M454. It's not going to be a super mobile lineup from Panthers, but they're expecting Comets to come to them. And they're going to be proven correct. I mean, it looks like this is going to be a 2-flag push from the Comets, and it seems as though Panthers are well situated to defend against this. Bales will get a shot or two in for free on the entry. If Madhouse is able to sort of work his way up off the information as well, he might get some too. Have to see some good return shots from Comets.
Well, Athron just got spotted amidst all that, so they already know at least where one of the tanks is going, and where one is going, the rest will too head that way. And so, funnily enough, it is Madhouse to actually pop off a couple shots, neither of which actually connected. So
yeah, that's
maybe second attempt. You can try. Coolly. There we go.
Be able to beat that E100 for the reload. So Madhouse is able to at least get one in, and it looks like maybe Bales has done so as well. Rotations are definitely coming through from the defensive side, and this is where you start to get yourself in a bit of a problem as Comets, because Panthers just have multiple angles to peek you from, and you've got no one to punish those angles. So it's fairly free so far for Panthers to continue to push in and get these resets and get this damage out. What's the response going to be from the Comets? Have they got that decisive push ahead of them, very similar to what we saw from them on the attack of Prokhorovka, or are they going to go for the cap pressure? They've got only 10 seconds left that they need to worry about, but Panthers have to be getting a reset here. There's just no world where they don't. Bales is going to be the one to do it. It's not the player they want. They want to get the reset onto Stife. They've managed to do that now, but they have caught Bales. Bales is really in trouble, and it's now a case of Bales needs to survive as long as, or do as much damage as AVP, because both of those players are more or less left for dead.
Yeah. Bales is about to get eliminated, so is AVP, but Dark Knight as well has been able to actually...
Bales is still alive, though.
Yeah, he's gone. Now he's gone. Yeah. But the problem now being is that now this is a full-on 4-man push against technically a 2-man squad. So either Stife will go, or Mentican, or matter of fact, why not both? Funnily enough, Madhouse still falls amidst all of this absolute chaos. So back and forth sort of trades, a game of tennis, but as a matter of fact, it's the Panthers that actually come out victorious so far, all things considered, but the 50B is just cleaning house.
Well, the 50B is not quite going to get out of there for free. Good shots coming in, though, from Dark Knight to sort of get a couple more points of damage into Dastardly. Twit's got to go on this chase. He's missed the shot. Dastardly. Yeah, he's probably a dead man. 410 HP. Probably takes a couple of shots in there from Athrin, to be fair, but once Dark Knight gets rolling, I think this is really bad news for Panthers. They've got to drive forward. Dastardly cannot be sitting here. He is gone. You've got to hope this is a low roll from Dark Knight, which it does end up being. And so Dastardly can survive a couple of shells, which will give Twit a little bit more room to move. And there is an exchange of damage back on in, but I just don't see how you win this one as Twit. He is trying to outrun Athrin. If he can get around the corner here before he takes the shot from that Super Kong, just not able to. And I guess, again, he missed a shot on the Dark Knight, which has pretty much made this one now unwinnable. He's going to keep chasing, but there was a couple of moments there where Panthers definitely could have won.
I'll be honest, up until this sort of point, I was still thinking that Panthers might just be able to completely, outdo their opponents. But yeah, look, Comets actually coming through big here. Once again, proving that they are an attacker-sided team.
Trying to make it work, and they do. Although, when it got down to that 2-on-2, I was thinking, ooh, one team that makes a wrong move, and it could cost them the whole series. And that might have just happened. Now, Comets going on to the other side. They'll be going on to the attack, right? So, oh no, they're going to be going on to the defense. Panthers were just on defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so do you think that that's going to favor them? Do you think, going into this map pick and with how they looked, at least in round 1 of Ghost Town, you feeling like the 3-1 could be in their favor?
Yeah, I mean, I think it very much is possible. That one was super tight, though. That really felt like it could go either way. I think it was a good call from Comets to try to take Bales out of the equation, right? When you're getting on top of a Super Conqueror, obviously a lot of damage is going to be put down, but the way that it panned out was Panthers was trying to dislodge an E100, and Comets were trying to dislodge a Super Conk. So inherently, it's going to take you a little bit more to get through that E100, and even then, AVP has bounced nearly 1,300 damage. Bales has bounced none. He ends up getting taken down pretty quick. That Super Conk, obviously very, very valuable late into the game. We saw that from Athrin. Look how much damage he's done, right? So if Madhouse and Bales can survive a bit longer, maybe a different story. But they're not the ones that are in that clutch. They're not the tanks that unfortunately get through to the late game from Panthers. And so Comet's really, really good target selection, and they've gotten it done. But now it's a case of obviously closing the series out.
Okay, what about you, Cthulhu? Looking at the stats here, you have Dark Knight, Athranzilla, and Twit all doing over 4k damage, so really carrying their teams, but Comets just edging it out towards the end. Any other stats that sort of stand out to you?
Look, I just actually been notified from the production chat as well. For Dark Knight, 14 shots were fired, 13 of them hit, and 11 of them were pens for the 50B. So that is a pretty solid stat to go for Dark Knight. And I mean, for what it's worth, his flank actually worked perfectly there. Because, I mean, if you remember, even the replays might just actually be able to show, perfectly here. Dark Knight went for the full wide swing all across the whole map just to get to that sort of the E6 position, where he was able to catch JS just right on the rotation to be able to introduce that half HP chip. Which from there on, in the long run, that actually paid off huge dividends. And because the rest of the team were basically baits for him, he was able to scot-free get the reload in, continue just clipping out and just dishing out that what felt like a very consistent amount of damage in a very sort of prompt manner as well. Because I mean, like, this accuracy on the move, sign me up, please. Whatever he has, give me that.
He's got a full crew. That's what I'll tell you. You probably don't have that in your 50.
I do. I actually, jokes on you. I have a fully trained crew as well.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe it's just player diff at that point, I guess. I was trying to do you a solid, but you've just wrecked yourself. So
yes.
Yeah, and you should check yourself before you do that next time. Okay. Now, going into the penultimate final round, it could be the final round. It could also send us into the tiebreaker. Are we enjoying this? I'm enjoying the thought of an upset from Comets, but I would not say no to a tiebreaker. But let's see if we have to say no, or if we have to say let's bloody go, Comets, because they are looking for 3 rounds. They're looking for that 3-1 scoreline. Jordan, let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would love what that would do to the standings, because that really throws everything into a bit of disarray. You'd have, I think, then pretty much a 3-way tie again between Action X, Comets, and Panthers. Or in fact, Comets would even overtake Panthers. Panthers would go down into 5th. Yeah. So it would be Action X 3rd, Comets 4th by 1 point, and then Panthers down in 5th pretty substantially. So, that'd be pretty spicy. I don't know that Panthers will be too keen on that, and that means they have to win this round. They have to force this through to a tiebreaker and take it to at least a 2-point game for them.
Yeah, look, I won't lie, the idea of Comets pulling an upset over Panthers would be quite an exciting prospect. Jordan, given that this, yeah, the shakeup that you mentioned could be absolutely huge. Could actually throw the remainder of the season for quite a number of teams into quite a disarray. I mean, whilst you know the first and second place are relatively all locked in, the rest, who knows what will really happen. Twit again, unfortunately for him, it's a very almost depressing matchup it's been today, because no matter where he peaks, it's just he gets a slap on the forehead no matter what.
That's not a very fun start for Panthers. They're hoping to bait Comets in to get the resets and then just obliterate them on the crossfire. You got Bales, Dastardly, and JS all ready and watching. And Madhouse just kind of waiting for any flanks that were to come. But the fact that Twit's now down to 1900 means he's obviously less of a threat. When that push does come through, it's going to take less time for Comets to get through him. JS eats a shot for free as well. This is looking really good for Comets.
On top of the fact that Dark Knight just got unlit, Mendicant didn't get lit at all. Whereas you look at the Panthers, the whole squad has been lit up and very much their positions have been made known. AVP plus Dark Knight making that rotation. Madhouse might be in for a very nasty surprise here. Matter of fact, the whole of the Panthers, and I mean, you look at the next matchups for Panthers. Panthers are looking to battle against the Action X and Scorpions in their next matches.
Where's Matt going to go? Like, literally, where is he going to go? He's just going to get
reverse,
farmed.
man.
And in the meanwhile, Panthers, I mean, they've just been completely out-rotated here. Look at Mendicant. He's just off to the races.
No.
He's like, see you, mate. I got my running shoes on. Doing his best Stuart Little impression. Just running away.
Shot.
No one is even caught up to him. Panthers are just driving around the map getting farmed.
Oh,
This is
actually,
not good at all. It's Comets. Comets have won.
up?
There's no question about it. Comets are going to win this 3-1.
Hold that
Panthers
thought,
are... Then no, they've just gotten abused, bro. There's surely no way. Can't let this one slip.
Hold that thought real quick, because Bale's already copped himself the first kill. Yes, Dastardly got traded out, but Stifer's one shot away.
Bale's on reload,
Mendicant, full HP. But yeah, but there's still Twit and JS about to come around. Oh, well, never mind. Mendicant
not
just
happening.
kills off Bales. Okay, my bad. I still thought that the Panthers still had it. Maybe I was on copium, who knows? But as it stands, it's Panthers who are.
That's not cool at all for Panthers. They're going to go straight down the scoreboard. They are sinking like a stone at the moment. And Comets, as we've said in the past, have continued to impress. Week upon week, they've gotten better and better. And they've claimed another scalp.
Yeah.
With 465 HP. Which way does this final shot go? Who gets the honors? Atherin gets it done. And that's 3-1 today for the Comets. And once again...
Okay.
Another big win for them. And that throws everything into disarray. I mean, who's to say at this point which way the season's going to play out? Certainly not me, because I've got no idea.
Oh. This turned out quite the big upset. Mac? Thoughts?
I think that game ended faster
yeah,
than Mac thought that it would. And he's still stuck running back from his... I don't know, what is he doing at the moment? Probably trying to get some food in him or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I can hear he's back. He's coming back.
Well,
But the
I might
Comets,
just be back.
they've won the series, Mac. Can you believe it? 3-1 in the
That
blink
was,
of an
that was
eye.
the quickest bloody round of my life. Thought I'd get away with going and filling up my water bottle. I get back and just see the screen. What's going on here? All right, well, they did it.
Yeah.
Can you tell me how? Because I was filling up my water bottle. That was like a minute.
Yeah, well, they kind of just drove at them, didn't they? Like, that was sort of the idea. I mean, obviously, Panthers, they got themselves onto the cap, so they're expecting, we're going to get a bit of cap pressure on here. They're going to try to peek us, try to get a few resets, and we'll be able to sort of play the timer that way and sort of bleed their HP down. But actually, what ends up happening is Comets, as always, they just seem quite happy to decisively make a call and then go with it, and then just say, hey, boom, we're straight in, and we're winning.
They're winning indeed. Now, let's have a look at the damage here. And, the diff is insane. Look at the fantasy points. All of these Comets members are just racking up as well. And no one got to drive bloody anywhere. I'm seeing the most distance is like 1,500 there for Dark Knight. And that's not far. We've been seeing people going 3K, 4K so far tonight. So, really not a lot of movement. And I guess there was no time to really go that far, right, Cthulhu?
Not at all. Yeah. Look, I mean, the the push that happened with Dark Knight and AVP to dislocate position of Madhouse that forced them literally out in the open into what felt like 3 different crossfires. Felt like that was one of those final nails into the coffin of Panthers' chances, really here. And
Yeah.
I'm I'm gonna be honest. That like you turn off the whole UI, switch the camos, told me that it was the Panthers done it. I would have even borderline believed that this would have happened. But the way how Comets actually performed themselves, that was genuinely a pleasure watching how they've played.
Yeah, I'm just literally got the stream up on the second monitor as well, just to see it happen, because it'll probably happen in the next 30 seconds or so. But yeah, crazy game coming out there. And Perth Panthers, that means they are officially in 4th place as well. So not going to be able to keep up. And I bet all the Adelaide Action X players are just going to be cheering through their teeth. And I think we had a quick look as well for the next couple of games for a couple of these individuals. They're not looking like easy games either. So that's going to be the Comets. One of which is up against the Adelaide Action X. The other game, of course, is the North Sydney Sentinels. So they have a bit of work ahead of them. Look, Panthers, they were, relatively hard team. But now, do we go back to that question I asked earlier, Jordan, saying, do you think Panthers are underperforming now they are officially knocked into that 4th place?
They're actually knocked into 5th, I think. But yes.
The 5th?
Yeah, I think they are. Like, I think this is a matchup that if you've got these players on your roster with the experience that they have, and you're playing against a team that is, in their very first season of ANZ PL minus AVP, you should be winning this. You should definitely be winning this. You should certainly not be losing it 3-1. It should at least be going through to the tiebreaker. But I actually wonder now whether or not Panthers can make it into playoffs, because you were sort of mentioning the matchups that are coming for Comets. Obviously, North Sydney Sentinels and Adelaide Action X. Those are going to be some tough games. But then again, for Panthers, they're also playing Action X and they're playing Scorpion. So it's not necessarily an easier run for Panthers than it is for Comets. And it sort of feels as though Action X kind of have their own destiny in their own hands, because they're playing 1 week against Panthers, 1 week against Comets, the two teams that they're kind of jostling for position with. So, they obviously get a lot of a say in how their playoffs run, happens or does not happen. Whereas for Comets and Panthers, there's still a little bit up in the air. If they can beat Scorpions or Sentinels respectively, that would obviously be really nice. But I don't think we can imagine that's going to happen. Like, I think obviously you'd be backing the two Sydney teams in those matchups. So tough ask now for Panthers to come back into this season with those matches still upcoming.
Yeah, crazy clutch there. What, 3 alive at the end for Comets? That was just absolute domination. And I could see it looked like they were pretty much just shooting fish in a barrel there. Panthers just all over the place, all over the point, and then just got caught out in, terrible positions, and it just didn't work out for there. So, chat popping off. They're happy to see a little upset coming through there. And of course, we've got an interview coming up just in a second. So, I believe we're going to be having a chat with Atheron. Not just yet. Now, what would you like to ask him? Because Atheron had a couple of big maps, from what I remember. I think that last one, he did some decent damage.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's definitely been a solid individual. Not even just in this series today, but over the whole season. I've got a few questions for him, Mac. I think we should hold off on those for the moment. I don't want to play
leaks.
spoiler. Yeah, I don't want to leak it. I don't want you to steal my question, because I know if I give you my question, you're going to use it, and then I'm going to have to think of another one on the spot, and that's going to be really sad. So
you caught me. You bloody caught me. And we've caught Atheron as well. He's here having a chat with us on the stream. Atheron, how you feeling after that win? Were you expecting it? And of course, I think you might have leapfrogged them there on the leaderboard as well. So how's that feel?
Feels pretty good. I didn't actually think we were going to have a team of 5 tonight. So.
Ooh. I feel like this is a recurring trend. Every single time we talk to one of you guys, you're like, yeah, look, I'm just glad we got 5 players tonight. So, hey, congratulations for that. Congratulations for the win. Who's calling for you guys at the moment? Because there was a couple of decisive calls in there, I thought.
Tonight was a combination of Dark Knight and myself, and mostly probably the best the team has ever really gelled through the whole season. So it was kind of everyone, to be honest.
Nice.
Okay. Look, run me through how things felt after the conclusion of Prokhorovka, because obviously you guys went from, quite a stellar first round. Then the second round kind of felt like it somewhat fell apart after the beginning. going into the ghost town, were there still concerns, doubts, or were you guys just thinking more so sort of leaning towards just reset, new map, new us?
No, we reset pretty quickly. Proc's probably our worst map, and we walked right into them on that second map. So props to them. But we played Ghost Town a whole bunch, so we were pretty confident in resetting and taking it to them.
Yeah. So what happened at the end was that play just off the back of you guys seeing Panthers out of position and you decided to flood them, or did everything
once
sort
we
of just
spotted the
work out?
50B, it was 100% push.
Okay, there you go. Congratulations, Atheron. We'll let you go. Enjoy it. Enjoy your Friday night, and we'll see you next week if you get that win.
Thanks, catches.
Always good to chat with Big Man. Now, of course, that's going to mean, towards the end of the night when we have a look at that leaderboard, we're going to see a little shift. So 2 of these arguable upsets out of those first 2 games means that, I guess Action X winning wasn't an upset, but, this one certainly was. And I think Blue Panda pick Comets.
Yes, he did.
I think he did, yeah.
Oh, he's back in the lead.
Sneaky. He's jumped back in the lead. So, look, he hedged his bets there, and no one's keeping up with him. I did think about going for the Comets, but I was like, nah, Panthers. I've heard good things about them. They've got this. Surely,
I should have gone
right?
for Comets, yeah.
Mm.
That's the one pick that I went for a coin flip.
And is this so? You actually
And the
flipped
coin
a
flip
coin?
failed me. Yeah, I genuinely flipped the coin for the second prediction, and the coin failed me.
Okay, a real
fate.
coin, or just like did you type coin flip on Google?
No, like a real coin. I had some coins still left in the wallet. So I just,
Was it a New Zealand coin or was it an Australian coin?
Yeah, see, that was a New Zealand coin. So yeah, I might have
Lied to
I
you.
might have gotten betrayed. Yeah, lied to me. Yeah, next time the finals coming up.
Did you say
relatively
heads or
soon.
tails for which team?
I think
Who'd
it
you,
was,
who'd you put on what?
Heads was on Comets. Tails was on Panthers.
And
think
Tails
it-
never fails. So
Well, tails
when you
always fails,
decided,
apparently.
Tails always fails. It seems this time.
well, it certainly did this time. Now, did you flip a coin for that third match as well, or did you make
this
an
one
educated
was-
guess?
This one was an educated guess. Yeah, the Sentinels versus Scorpions. I think on this one I trust sort of the general trend of how things go, and I will probably get proven wrong because last time I got a anonymous tip from an didn't even know what was the account actually named in the game to vote for Scorpions. I vote for Scorpions and things went actually rather nicely. This time I didn't get a tip off, so look, take it as how you want it.
Look, Scorpions and Sense, that's going to be that third match of the day. And to get there, we've got to go to another break. So, ladies and gents, bear with us. We'll see you after the other side of this break, the third and final game of the night.
It wasn't supposed to be like this. I still don't understand how it happened. We were going on a journey. We had been preparing for many years, and finally, our moment had arrived.
Dee, what's going on? The tank! I can't control it! Are you sure you checked everything? It's out of control!
Now, I need to reunite my team. Sybil, Deidre, and Aurelia. This is the only way to complete our mission.
There are no rules in this world, indeed.
Commanders, get ready for Update 1.18.1. Here's what you can expect. Sixth Sense forever and for everyone. Improvements to personal reserves. More changes to maps. Very cute witches and cats. Plus an exciting new mode. Onslaught is a brand new mode for Tier 10 vehicles. Battles take place in the 7v7 format with new mechanics and a rating system. In Onslaught, you'll need to use special skills that highlight and enhance each vehicle's role. Prepare for accelerated reloading for assault medium tanks, artillery strike for sniper medium tanks, and even hit point restoration for super heavy tanks. Each skill can only be obtained and improved in battle. You can also capture points of interest to order a reconnaissance operation on the whole map or request powerful artillery support. In Onslaught, you'll have the option to fight alone, with a friend, or in 7-person super platoons. That's right. For the first time, your entire team can form one big platoon. Solo and 2-person platoon players will still have access to the team-wide voice chat, so don't forget to enable it in your settings. Join Onslaught. Fight your way to the top. Play against equals and receive rewards, including the game's first progressive 2D style, Wing and Claw. One look at a tank's color, and you'll immediately know who's who on the battlefield. You can learn more about Onslaught and all of its features in our dedicated video, or in the article on the game portal. Now for something you've all been waiting for. Let there be light. The Sixth Sense perk has officially transformed into a Tank Commander feature. This means you'll no longer need to train it. Your way will always be illuminated by default, forever and for everyone. The crew members with Sixth Sense already trained will have their spent XP fully reimbursed and used to train the major qualification to 100%, as well as finish training an uncompleted skill or perk. The remaining XP will turn into crew member XP, which can be used to train a new skill or perk. If Sixth Sense was a 0 perk, you'll be able to choose a different 0 skill or perk in its place. However, you won't be able to reset the chosen 0 perk, so choose wisely. The skill and perk interface has been improved as well, with 0 perks now displayed separately. The increased focus directive that provided and improved the Sixth Sense perk will no longer be sold, but you will keep the directives you have in your depot. But that's not the only good news, Commanders. We're also reworking the entire personal reserve system. Now, the interface will be much easier to use. Reserves can be opened and activated in a few clicks, and each type will have its own timer. You will even be able to activate reserves right in battle. When activated, they'll apply to the current battle as well. The 4 old reserve categories have turned into 3: credits, combat XP, and a combined reserve for both free and crew XP. Moreover, all reserves will now have a duration of 1 hour. The rates have also been standardized so that all reserve types only have 2 values. But most importantly for you, players won't lose anything in the process. The conversion rate for old to new reserves will work in favor of the players. To learn more, check out the article on the game portal or our dedicated video on this channel. As always, we're continuing to improve our maps to boost your gaming experience. On Malinovka, the hill in Sector E7 will become less steep. It will now be easier to climb without being spotted. On the upper base, the terrain has become more even, and the village has been moved from the possible line of fire. Also, both teams will now have only 1 bush in their captured circles. New rocks were added to Sand River in Sector A6. This will allow players to ascend the hill more safely. In Sector K0, there is a new point to cross the canyon. By crossing here, it will be easier to get to enemies nesting in the rocks. The valley at the center has also changed significantly. It now features a different terrain, new positions for firing from various ranges, and new retreat routes. In addition, the valley will be much more protected against fire from flanks and TD positions. Next, Fisherman's Bay. The approach to the town from the north has become safer. Now, heavy tanks face less risk of receiving significant damage at the start of the battle. In addition, the key positions are now even more appealing for flanking maneuvers. The buildings in Sector F9 are now similar to the buildings on the other side. This will help balance the team's chances, since the lower team won't have to deal with such thick vegetation anymore. New cover has been added for both sides in the center of the map. A terrain fold was added near the center to help the lower team move as safely here as the upper team does. Some cover was removed from the firing position in C9 to make it less advantageous. more improvements to Himmelsdorf have also been made. On this map, the lower team has always had 2 ways to the hill, while the upper team has had only 1. Now, the upper team will have their own safer way to retreat as well. All of these changes were inspired by your suggestions and rigorous testing. We hope you like them. That's all for update 1.18.1. Or maybe it's just the beginning. Commanders, with the release of Update 1.18.1, there will be some exciting changes to the personal reserve system that will make the process of using them simpler, clearer, and more beneficial to you. Previously, you needed to perform a number of actions in order to select the necessary reserve. For many, this caused...
What's that mean? What's that?
Hang on.
Are you trying to do
I muted
scorpions or something?
myself. I muted myself, but could you tell I was doing an interpretive dance? You didn't need to hear me. Do you know what that
I'm
is?
interpreting you as a bit of a moron right now, but I don't know what else you want me to do.
You don't know what that is?
What is this?
You know the
Is this Crab Rave?
It's actually Globo Gym Purple Cobras, but I thought it was scorpions because scorpions kind of do this with their tails.
I think they only have one tail though.
They do, and I thought about it, but I did it on the spot. I was, as I said, interpretive
heat of the
dance,
moment,
improv,
look,
heat of the
it
moment.
still worked.
I was trying to do something funny, Jordan.
Yeah.
Can you just appreciate that? Cthulhu was smiling. He was laughing. Huh? You want to go? I'll drive to your house.
I've had
Come on.
to deal with Cthulhu. You know, it's fun for like the first year or two when you work with Mac, but once you've been there for like 5-6 years, like I have, I mean, geez, my knees. Look at the shirt he's wearing. I mean, can we get a professional back? Can we bring Blue Panda back? Like seriously.
Oh, what about Ben? What about the Sandman, the Sandinator? What about him? You like his shirts?
Yeah. No, he actually did some dumb things on the show as well. He would like fall under the desk and stuff.
Like on purpose, or he accidentally?
No, on purpose.
Oh wow!
But he tied it into a sponsor segment, so it was kind of big brain.
Right. Well, I could go. Let's call it the HyperX, Purple X's, Max X's. There we go.
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
look, moving on. It's the big one. It's the Sydney Derby. We've got to talk about the Sentinels. Let's have a chat about what they can do today and how they're going to do it up against the Scorpions. Jordan, you've had a lot to say, so I don't want to hear from you. Cthulhu, tell me about it.
All right.
Look, Sentinels, the team that basically been on top of the leaderboard for the majority of the time. Look, they had a few slip-ups. Funnily enough, both of them were against Action X. But it's a roster that when they want to do good, when they want to be serious, they will get serious, all right. There's each and every player is a very well-oiled cog in a pretty well-organized machine. There are occasionally, times when a couple of cogs will slip up, but overall, one of the more consistent teams that we got to see in the recent few seasons of NZPL.
Yeah, for me, of course, Wymo, definitely my favorite player for no reason in particular. What about you, Jordan? Who do you think needs to stand out today to take an easy W over the Scorpions?
Play to their 90%. I think that for the most part, Sentinels should be the team to walk away with the win in this matchup. They have historically had a really good matchup against the Scorpions, but sometimes Sentinels just sort of comes into a regular season game and doesn't look very good. And I think they've kind of got that out of their system. They got that out of their system last week. So I'm expecting them to kind of come bouncing back into this week and look stronger than ever. And so, yeah, I think they just sort of need to hit 90%, and that should be enough to knock over the Scorpions tonight.
Now, Scorpions seem pretty hard to knock over. Let's talk about them as well, Cthulhu. If they are to take this win, what needs to happen? What maps do we need to see played? Also, what players need to pop off?
Look, I think to me, the big sort of players that need to pop off is Aussie. That's sort of that's a player that I'm definitely looking out for. The resident sort of medium tank gamer. Chuck Russian in there. Get JT and maybe even occasionally Benny as well. You got yourself a really solid lineup. But all things considered, as long as JT is not trolling with the picks, as long as we have full coordination, full concentration, this could be good. The lineup that actually we are being shown, Aussie, Knight, JT, Raspberry, and Russian, I'm also very, very much sold on that idea, because even with Raspberry, given that he's quote unquote the sub / the sixth player for the team, he's been on his own accord doing actually pretty well.
Okay, now Jordan, out of these 5, look, you had something to say about other individuals tonight. Which of these 5 is your favorite player, and who's the most handsome?
JT's my favorite.
Okay.
And he's the most handsome as well.
But he's hiding. Is that because he's handsome? He doesn't want to make us all feel bad?
He doesn't want to blind us with his beauty.
Ah, of course.
Here he comes. Here he comes.
Here he
JT.
comes. JT.
Here comes the
JT,
boy.
head up. JT, put your head up right now. Yes, he's here.
The
He heard me.
people want to see
Oh.
JT.
No, he's
He's just teasing us. He's teasing us, isn't he?
He's waiting until the game's live before we finally get to see it. That's okay. That's okay. Now, all right, Jordan, your opinion on Scorpions and what they can do to cause an upset win here over Sentinel.
Yeah, look, I think they're a good team. I just think they've got to try to stay out of their own heads, right? They're a team that, especially in matchups against Sentinels, they do some silly things, and it's kind of like I've seen in the past series that are winnable have been thrown away, and unfortunately, I think that the Scorpions have kind of let themselves down in a lot of cases in that respect. So I'd really like to see them just make sure that they're 100%ing those rounds, that not making silly mistakes, not kind of throwing things away, not having an individual maybe overpeak and sort of give up their tank, something like that. Like, they're a good squad.
Mm-hmm.
They can beat Sentinels. We've seen it before, but they're just not as consistent as Sentinels. So I want to see peak Scorpions tonight. I think that's what they're going to need to beat the Sentinels.
Well, they're going to need Aussie as well. So let's highlight him, have a look at his stats so far. Cthulhu, tell me about this individual.
This individual himself. Look, Aussie, he's a player that we haven't really got to talk a whole lot at the very beginning of the season. He kind of went a little bit under the radar, but in terms of just his general performance within Season 5, he's been doing a really solid job overall. He's been the one to be able to play in the very good sort of duo plays between, say, somebody like himself and Russian, himself and Napalmer, himself and, well, basically the whole rest of the team. And he's been that one player that would be spearheading a lot of those sort of mid-round plays. So he is a very crucial part of the Scorpions. And the part that I definitely have to say has been kind of underappreciated for a long while, but now sort of he's, at least within the terms of this season, he's come to his own sort of turn.
Okay, now, what about Sydney? Jordan, tell me about this, Cindy, rather. Look, if there was an E in here somewhere, his name would be Sydney, and it's thrown me off completely. But tell me about him and what he does for Sentinel.
Yeah, he's I think he's a little bit more of a glue player. Like, he's someone that kind of comes in and he doesn't sort of play every single game, right? They seem to be a team that likes to sort of shift things around a little bit every now and then. But he does get about 80% playtime, and obviously he's able to fit a lot of roles in this team. In previous seasons and in previous Sentinels rosters, we've seen him sort of in the bat chat here and there. This season, he tends to be a little bit more of a heavy tank player and sort of even leaning towards those super heavy tanks. So, the E100s, the Super Kongs, and like even the IS4 is something that he's picked up this season. Been seeing a lot more M454 from him now as well, since he has obviously had that as a tank available to him. And I think that's probably what we're going to be seeing him in for the majority of the night. So, just one of those role players in this team, and obviously been doing a pretty good job of that. Although I will say the output from him once he's been put in the M454s hasn't quite been as good as it has in pretty much any other tank. So I wonder if we see that change up a little bit, if they're sort of cognizant of that fact.
Okay, well, we'll keep that little bit of information in our back pocket and see if things change off the back of it. But for now, let's look at the maps. We're going to be kicking things off on Proc again. Already had that one as the first map for every series tonight. Going to Cliff is the second map, and if we make it to a tiebreaker, it is again going to be Himmelsdorf. So, Cthulhu, do you think these two maps are enough for either team to take it in regulation, and was it going to be Sentinel?
I was waiting for you to ask for that sort of question. But honestly, yes, look, I think Sentinels might have a bit of an edge here, given that Cliff has been sort of their home ground for the most of it. It's a map that, apart from, a couple hiccups here and there, they should be able to take out, I would say, 85% of the time. Prokhorovka, look, I think this is the map where Scorpions need to get themselves a 2-0, because otherwise things might end up looking a little bit dire going into the Cliff.
Well, speaking of, let's jump on into Proc. Let's see how things go, and let's see if Sense can start with the dub, or if Scorpions are here to take some names.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. Like, I think this is a very weird veto. I almost feel like both teams are kind of picked into their opponent's strength. But, yeah, maybe just trying to flex on one another a little bit. Rainbow, in that T100 LT, going to get a lot of info early. He spotted all 5 of those Scorpions tanks. Raspberry does get himself up and over into the bowl. Eats a shot for it, but, probably an acceptable result for that bit of map control.
Yeah, I mean, all things considered, this is actually still very much workable. It is interesting to see that sort of, we went through a rather brief sort of phase of, introducing the bat chats, or even the double bat chats, and already the second proc so far in the day, we get to see the T100 LT sort of get picked back up out of nowhere. Problem so far being actually for Sentinels, whilst yes, the T100 LT is all good and fancy, like you mentioned, Cindy, things been looking a little bit more sort of quote-unquote average in terms of the performance once he got into the M454, and that sort of continues the trend. And even in the terms of the bleed damage, so far, at least the early game went very thoroughly into the hands of Scorpion.
Cindy, a bit of a rotate here, but he'll need to be careful. It looks like Scorpions are trying to chase him down. They've identified the weakness on the side of Sentinels, and they also know that there's really not much beyond Cindy on this side of the map. Obviously, you've got Rainbow in that T100 LT rotating his way across, but he's a T100 LT, so he's not a huge threat. He's not super scary, and Scorpions have opened it up. First Blood goes their way. We have, though, seen Sentinels dig themselves out of scenarios like this before, so let's not count them out of this just yet, particularly if Rainbow is going to be left unattended. I think Scorpions need to dump over mid. They need to get out of that sight line of the T100 LT, because even if it's just a T100 LT, that is going to be some pretty significant damage once Rainbow starts getting shots across. 1-for-1 there. That's good. Scorpions keeping it in check for now, but the HP deficit is starting to equalize a little bit.
Yeah, given that, the S-Conk of Bell is still looking pretty solid, the fact that that is a lot of damage that just got sunken into Russian, this is much more contestable. Dell, though, might be in a lot of trouble because Aussie and Raspberry, basically, they have free real estate to just, tip over, go over the ridge and just, start farming up damage.
They've got to actually farm it as well. Yeah. Because in mid, that fight is not going well, and this is kind of what I'm talking about. Scorpions, they had the lead, they had the advantage. They've even got an Ignite onto Dell, but I'm not sure if that is going to guarantee them the victory right here. Return, still getting some good damage down, and Rainbow is full HP, so let's not count our chickens before they hatch just yet. JT's a 1-shot, Russian, Aussie 2 shots. Raspberry starting to lose HP here and there as well, and if they don't finish Dell off right now, he'll get another shot in, and that'd be a problem. Rainbow doing a good job of juggling that aggro, but he needs to find that killing blow onto JT, and that is impossible, apparently. All right, well, in the blink of an eye, Scorpions have finished it off. But yeah, look, I think you give Sentinels a little bit more rope there, and they might just get that one over the line. In the end, though, decisive win from the Scorpions.
Eating my popcorn. Again.
Oh, yep.
Very quick end to the
Max,
game.
you're muted
But
in Discord.
I'm muted in Discord, but like everyone can hear me. You can all hear me. Tell me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Everyone can hear me. You can all hear me. Beautiful. That's what you didn't want to hear me chewing on my popcorn. It was terrible sound.
What kind of
but a great game. A great way to kick things off there. Sense looking really good initially, and then Scorpions seemed to have an idea of what was going on. So, look, moving forward, are we expecting going into the next side that we're going to see anything change here, Jordan?
It's a hard question to answer because obviously there's so much that changes going from defense to offense that it's not like, oh, they need to do this better or that better. The way that you play the game out is completely different. So, maybe they need to look at just where they're putting their pieces, and they also need to sort of be thinking about how decisive Scorpions is playing tonight. I think Sentinels have to sort of identify, like, is this a Scorpions that is playing well tonight, or is this the Scorpions that like is kind of on a bit of an average night? And if they're going to come out of the gates like that, Scorpions, I think that's a pretty scary looking Scorpions. So that's where you sort of prick your ears up a little bit as Sentinels and go, all right, let's pull up our bootstraps and see what we can get done right here.
Well, fantasy points low and in for anyone that had the returned on their team. Is he a sneaky one for you, Cthulhu, or who's actually on your fantasy team from these two teams?
Fantasy actually returned is in fact on my fantasy team,
Ooh.
and I also have Aussie on my fantasy team as well.
Stonks.
So not too bad of a pick, at least in terms of this very matchup. I obviously could have gone for a Russian pick, but look, between Russian being, I believe he's a 5-star, and Aussie being a 3-star, I kind of went for a bit of a more of a budget sort of pick, I guess, in terms of the value of the stars. But look, all things considered, Scorpions actually did a really, really good job here. The way how they've organized it did look a little bit scrappy sort of midway through it all after that sort of initial bleed sort of started coming back for them, and the fact that they just bled so much damage. But look, all things considered, they managed to actually keep the ball rolling, and that's what matters at the end of it all.
Yeah, well, that T100 LT coming through, we saw that have a lot of success earlier, and got that 5 tank spot off at the start, but that didn't seem to matter. Wymo went real hard in, got that 1-for-1 trade, but again, just those final couple of shots didn't seem to connect on any of the Scorpions members. So Sentinels, you think they're going to be kicking themselves after, a round that definitely could have been theirs ended up going the other way, Jordan?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think Sentinels there would be a little bit disappointed to have lost Cindy so early on in the piece. If he could have survived a little bit longer, and the fact that Rainbow also had to make such a big rotation in that time when that fight was occurring was kind of a really bad, I suppose, timing actually in the end for Sentinels. So it just sort of felt like they didn't quite get the timing that they wanted to there on the defense to really set up properly. And had Scorpions been a little bit more indecisive, then things could have definitely gone a different way. But sometimes that's just how it is, right? If one team makes a good call, there's not a whole lot you can do about it unless you're set up for it. And in this case, Sentinels was not set up for it.
Yeah, okay. So Sentinels, of course, they want the win. They need the win, especially here on this map, or then, they could be in upset territory. So we'll see how the mentals are challenged and if they're going to be able to turn it around and make it a one map affair before we jump on in.
Very much so. I'm actually quite curious, because remember how we were talking, prior to the start of this matchup, 2-0 needs to be a proc for Scorps if they want to win, because Cliff couldn't get turned around pretty quickly. The only issue, though, again, remembering the Sentinels game, surely Sentinels will be able to, bring this back on their own attack. Given that we've already seen, how well they are able to, come back from the general sort of ability to reset their mental.
Get a bit of a conga line here. Looks like it. Turn in the CS63 to push Dell and Wymo. Make them drive a little bit faster. Now, JT's going to get that info pretty early from his position, but he's also going to have to get out of there pretty quick smart. There is no one on this side of the map that can help him out at all. And, well, Scorpions get a lot of info. They also lose a lot of map control really early on.
There's a juice stack. Imagine just your JT in the dinky T100 LT. That won't be able to obviously bring too much frontal damage. And you see this absolute train of just pain coming your way.
Yep.
Given the fact that right now Dell is also quite upset, at least according to one of the chats, where apparently he got trolled and 5 side shots were eaten by the tracks.
Seems like player diff to me. Should have just aimed a bit better. Well, straight on to the flag for Sentinels. So trying to put that early pressure down. Knight's got a bit of damage. Then again, so is Rainbow. So it's pretty even as far as the exchanges early are concerned. Now those Scorpions going to have to think about what they want to do as far as resets are to be worried about. Might be a big southern rotation from the medium and the light, Aussie and JT. I mean, that's traditionally what you'd see. And then someone like that CCTP up over the top to get the reset, which has not looked so good for Knight there. It's eaten a lot of damage. And this is going about as exactly to plan as Sentinels could have hoped.
Yeah, I mean, with the double S-Conk as well to cover and to prevent Knight to sort of overswing into that sort of ditch. Yeah, this is working out rather swimmingly. There is an approaching S-Conk at the B5, so this could be rather problematic. And in comes that swing. Russian should be able exactly right on cue.
Yeah,
Get that
but
damage in,
Knight,
that's the reset.
Knight has just gotten absolutely booked trying to
That's
get those
correct.
resets. So he's down
Look
to a
at
one-shot
Rainbow.
pretty much. Rainbow's also getting farmed up a little bit. If Knight can get one more shot through here and actually connect it in that 60 TP, obviously that's still going to be quite valuable. Sentinels are looking toward Russian. I'm not sure that's the right move. If they go over the top, they eat a shot in the side from Knight, and then you're still trying to deal with Super Conk. It's going to put a lot of damage down. They're forcing him back, though, into the sightline of return, which is going to end up being quite a nice decision in the end. And, well, now it's Russian versus Dell, and Wymo's trying to deal with Knight. If he doesn't pen this shot, then he's going to eat a big shell in that side. You've got Raspberry over the top in the Super Conk also farming, and Knight... Fire that shot, sir! He gets it across. All right, this is starting to look better and better for Scorpions. I'm not sure how Sentinels have fumbled this one so badly, but in the end, it looks like they might actually be dropping here as well. They have just walked into a crossfire of a double Super Conk setup and then also taken forever to kill Knight in that 60 TP. That is not looking good for Sentinels at all, and, well, returned. He's farmed up a bit, but I don't think it's going to matter. I mean, this is not winnable for him, surely.
I would have thought that Returned would have been able to, push up where Russian was and, get at least distraction going that way. But suppose that was not part of the original plan. So things went absolutely haywire there very, very quickly.
Where's Returned gone?
Returned was just able... He just knocked...
He finds a 1v1 against Aussie. That's a good start.
That's a good pick. Might be able to actually keep on running away from Raspberry as well, because JT... I think Returned is just outside of the actual spotting range, so we're just waiting for him to get unlit.
Well, let's not forget that Returned is also on the attack here, so even if you were to entertain a possibility that Returned could get this done, I think the first thing you would have to say is he'd probably need to be on defense. So at the very least, he's got the timer working in his favor, and then Scorpions will be coming to him. Right now, Scorpions literally has to do absolutely nothing. They don't have to chase it.
That's the thing. They don't have to do anything, but instead look at where they are. They're opting, at least one of them has opted to actually try to push out. JT is... Well,
if
right
Return can get a shot in here and somehow get a ram kill onto JT,
hello.
that could have been pretty scary. Yeah, he gets a shot in for free, but it gives away his position, and you're just going to see Raspberry sort of drive up here and try to farm him. It almost had to be like, yeah, JT dead to a ram. Returned is really getting a lot of work done, though, I will say. I mean, it should be unwinnable, but... Alright, now it's pretty much there. Once it starts to come... Yeah, once it starts to come into like a 1v3 instead of a few 1v1s, that's pretty much where it's locked up. And so Scorpions 2-0 today. The question is, of course, Cliff. We know that's a really good map for Sentinels. Is this enough of a lead for Scorpions?
Good question. I'd hope so for everyone that picks Scorpions, and that's not a lot of people. There was a lot of sense believers today. And Scorps just coming out swinging 2-0 already. And what an affair. Although, look, Returned did manage to sneak his way down south for a while, pick up 2 kills in the end, so at least getting some fantasy points there for all the returned holders on your fantasy teams. But at the same time, Sentinels just looking like they get caught out. Everything they're trying is just being countered by Scorps. And look, what else can you really say? We just have to head over to Cliff and see if Sense can bring us to a tiebreaker, because that's their only hope of getting the W today, Jordan.
Yeah, it is. I do have a pretty high degree of faith in their Cliff, though. So I think there is a real possibility we do actually end up going to 5. I mean, it's strange, right? Because like we look at Sentinels and we always say they're a really good Cliff team. But if I actually take a look at the stats, it's just a 50-50 map for them. They just play a lot of Cliff. So I suppose that's even part of the reason that Scorpions have decided to take that as their map choice. They've said, hey, look, Cliff, we've got a lot of footage to go over. We know Sentinels have been a bit shaky on it this season. So let's give it a crack.
Well, Russian farming, almost 4k damage, even with just 63% accuracy. So still farming up the fantasy points. And
Conk things.
Yeah, just so much damn damage, 92% pen rate. Highest in the game by 3 points there, 3% rather. Any other stats you really want to touch on here? Look at JT. He's gone 5 kilometers there, Cthulhu.
What a runner. on JT. But yeah, look, I mean that's what you do when you are playing the T100 LT. Mobility is sort of your main weapon, and the ability to keep on scouting basically the whole map around in a matter of just a few moments. So absolutely, no, by all means, this is sort of an expected almost metric to come out, especially when JT or any other players playing the T100 LT. It's a tank that requires you to be very mobile. Same goes for CS63, albeit the Polish medium does sort of allow you to farm up quite some damage, as demonstrated by the return. So look, yeah, all things considered, for Scorpions, this is a really good scenario. Like we mentioned before, Prokhorovka 2-0 does ensure them a really strong chance to contest for a win here. It does put a really good pressure onto Sentinels, remembering even the first week or one of the first few weeks where they did lose to Action X. And I think it was actually one of the first few weeks we got to test the comms check as well, where it was quite a thorough turbo tilt from Rainbow. So look, if that is the similar sort of occurrence to
Rainbow
really
Assassin
happen,
is now playing.
yeah, we could very much see Scorpions finally break the curse.
Well, we'll see if they can make it happen. Just 1 point away. Something that threw me before. You know how there's the stat mileage? Does that still work for kilometers? Because it's not miles.
I actually
that is a good
don't know if it's in miles or kilometers. I think you can choose. I think in the game you can choose, can't you?
No,
Whether
pretty
it's
sure.
in kilometers or miles.
So I think the way how in-game works, it still gives you the metric in meters,
Right.
because that's how it measures the view range.
Right.
So I'm thinking, whilst it says mileage, it's all in kilometers. So
5,000
JT
meters.
drove so 5,000 meters, aka so 5 kilometers.
'Cause I've definitely heard the term distance used, simultaneously with mileage, but it's the first time my brain's just gone, what? Hang on. Anyway, I'm having one of those kind of nights, so I'm going to go take my loony pills, and when I get back, I'll be more normal than usual. And we got Cliff to jump on into. Jordan, take us away.
It's going to be Looney Tunes on the other side. Looking forward to that. Anyway, here we go.
Ooh, quite a full send already. Very thorough one. Raspberry and Knight. And the tanks that usually we don't expect to see push the donut, but alas, here we are. The 277 and JT gets bullied. Yeah, but I'm not too sure what to... actually, no. Hold up. Jordan, please tell me you're seeing what I'm seeing. Look at what Russian is bringing. It is a wild TVP T5051.
Yeah, but it's not working because the TVP you want to be getting into the fight early with. And so far, they've kind of gotten farmed. This, though, is a pretty interesting call, actually, from the Scorpions. I feel like Sentinels are rotating to it quite slowly, given the information that they did have initially. That IS-7 and CS-63 are taking a very long time to come off of the hill. And Scorpions, if they can take Del down... Oh, Russian's just gotten absolutely boomed. He has been deleted. I don't even know if he fired a single shot. The M454s held their fire and waited, and Dell's fired a shot in there as well, and I think he got set on fire too. Russian just doesn't get to play this round. I think he's done 0 damage there, and so that's worked out horribly for Scorpions. In the blink of an eye, it's gone from, oh, maybe this could work for Scorpions to, yeah, all right, they lose.
Yeah, I mean, starting off with JT basically losing at a moment's notice half of his HP on trying to even just get out of the bushes before the entrance to the donut. Yeah, to absolute bullying. I mean, Sentinels managed to force and staunch out the Scorpions from the donut, from the middle cliff. It's just, all went absolutely sideways.
Well, look, if you want to make a comeback happen, do it as fast as you bloody can. That's exactly what we saw from Sentinels. I'm glad I didn't get up, or I wouldn't have been here again. So, quick Cliff, and I feel like we didn't get to see too much Cliff over the last couple of weeks that I got to watch. It seems like we're going to other parts of the pool, but that was interesting. Didn't get to see too much of it again. It was only on for, what, was it 8 minutes at the start? That was a 2 minute...
8 minutes is the total round timer, yes.
Yeah, so it was only a 2-minute map, and it was done in the minute 30. As soon as Russian got just obliterated.
I want to see the replay of that. I mean, I think it was just 2 shots in from the M454s, one each, and then a shot in from Dell in the 50.
Bit of a 1-2.
And he got set on fire, and it was like, all right, well, have fun with that one, Russian. Let's have a look at the stats. That's what I want to see too. Did he even get to fire a shot? I don't think so.
So those M4s, Were they the ones you were talking about that you said someone used and you thought they'd be
Cindy.
performing?
Cindy,
That
yeah.
was Sydney. So, Cindy. And, well, it worked. He's done almost
Well, Russian
3k
got one shot
damage in 2 minutes. And, yeah, 304 damage, probably not enough. So, you were talking about that TVP needing to have that early impact in the fights. At least, he's got 100% accuracy, 100% pen. That's pretty good, isn't it?
And he's driven more than anyone else on his team. So, I mean, those are the important stats that you want to be looking for, Mac. As far as I can see, Russian has played that round perfectly, and it went exactly to plan.
Oh, beautiful. Now, I think Scorpions probably going to disagree with you. At the same time, Aussie, 1 fantasy point. Oh, that one's got to hurt. Was it you, Cthulhu, that said you had Aussie on your team? So that was the budget JT or the budget Russian. But even if you went with Russian, you'd probably be kicking yourself anyway. 7 points there. That was a very rough map, very rough round. Rainbow, though, 71 in such a short amount of time. Just farming in that AMX M4.
That M4 is just. I'm gonna say this. I'm happy that we get yet another quote unquote meta tank. The way how M454 actually managed to make his own way into
Watch
the meta
this.
actually works out so nicely. Yeah, look at this damage. My
They're
God.
going to wait. They're going to see Russian coming, and they're going to say, let's turn and shoot Russian when he tries to cross to our 50B.
Was the one
And
to-
then...
boom. And the ignite as well.
And the ignite,
Ay, ay, ay.
and then Dell gets that last shot in, and it's like, we'll take that.
Oos. And then just the charge as well. Replay is almost as long as the whole round.
Basically, really. I mean, the way how Sentinels actually conducted themselves was a really, really good showcase. Because, look, I'll be honest, after that Prokhorovka, I was starting to get a few, concerns going about Sens and the way how things were going, but no. Yeah, look, they back into the general swing of things, it seems. Cliff, for all the right reasons, is their home ground.
Okay, now, the flipping sides, Scorpions, probably not going to be able to be as aggressive, of course. They're going on the defense. So, do you expect something different to happen, or are we going to see Scorps just try to get this all the way to Himmelsdorf? Because that whole map just then felt like a bit of a write-off. Are we expecting to see it be another write-off, sort of just take us straight to the tiebreaker? Tell me about it, but also take us in, Jordan.
I mean, I think you have to give Scorpions a little bit of a benefit of the doubt here. They've played better in 2 out of the 3 rounds so far today. This is also their map choice. So you look at it and say, they probably should be able to close it out. It's defense, it's the side of the map that they're a bit more comfortable on based on their historic results on this map too. So let's see what they can do. Got the TVP, double TVP out from Scorpions and a Kranwagen as well for Aussie. So a lot of autoloaders here. They really want to be blowing a tank up pretty quickly. They don't want to be taking a long extended fight. That's how this one does end up playing out. They've got info on those TVPs, but Return is getting farmed.
Okay, 1,000 damage already went in. The
Yep.
return got
TVP's
punished
on reload though.
On that approach, so yeah, with the TVPs on the reload, Dell might still get farmed up, and in fact,
Oh,
it
that's a
will be.
bait!
That's a lot of damage that just went into him.
Yeah, it's a
which
big
is-
bait.
Yeah.
They've sort of baited with those TVPs and sort of said, hey, Dell, come and get us. And then the M454s will take the peak and just fire a shot each into Dell, who's now down to half HP as well. This is a great start for Scorpions, and it's going to be a tough nut to crack for Sentinels. Cindy,
Well, it's only.
interesting spot.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it even from the total sort of health pool standpoint. It was only 1,000 HP difference. Now it's much more. Now it's once again evened out to just 1,000 or above for Scorpions. I think this is actually going to very much rely on Cindy. His position is going to be very much key here because the rest of the Sentinels are very much locked into their positions. So Cindy needs to try to apply some pressure, but as it stands, not much really came off it. Aussie's still in a very comfortable position. Russian gets to basically almost free farm here. So is possibly even Raspberry to play around that sort of corner. So yeah, look, there's definitely some problems that are about to start mounting here, I reckon.
Big rotation coming in at the moment from JT and the TVP. I wonder where he's interested in heading. Is he just going to set himself up in the back pocket and wait for the push to come over the top? Looks like that's going to end up being the case. Remember the old, the classic STRV position right up on the back of the map there in the A5 kind of pocket. Not exactly the same position for JT, but still a good firing line if Sentinels decide to dump over the top. Which, I gotta be honest, I don't think they have too many more options, right? They don't have a super mobile lineup. They've got a couple of CS63s, but Returner's already on half HP. So I'm not sure that they're wanting to really sort of play that rotation game.
Yeah, look, I think this is just one of the ways to try to just break up the mold here for what so far been developing for Scorpions. They found that initial bleed. They managed to do quite a good work, but now they're trying to, spice things up. Right now, you look at the Sentinels positioning, they're all locked in into a very good position. So flank around, go wide to the H8, or H9 rather. You could do a lot of damage here, especially with a double TVP.
Indeed. These are very scary tanks to be going up against because you make one mistake and they are just going to blow you up. And then they're going to do it again really quickly. Very, very fast reload timer on those autoloaders. And the intra clip as well is just so fast. So here we go for Sentinels. They're going to have to try to get it done. Aussie, he'll probably drop as the first point of contact for Sentinels, but he's got a full clip out there in that Krummwagen. He's going to try and buy as much time as possible. And that's really his job at this point. Now it's up to the TVPs to flex their muscles and get something done. The M454s are pretty strong. They can hold nicely. JT will finish off return. There's one tank down. Russian drops as well, though. So this is now starting to get a little bit interesting. JT's on the reload, of course. He's in a TVP. It won't take too long. Those M454s have to hold on.
Yeah, well, Cindy's actually still being able to output some good damage. Rainbow's still staying alive. Wymo, as long as he doesn't overexpose his
This is big.
back,
JT.
he could do a lot of work. Oh.
He's got enough to kill either Wymo or Rainbow as well if he opts to go for it. And then Knight, well, Knight can win that 1v1 against Dell. Here goes JT. He knows Rainbow's fired. And Wymo isn't sure which way he wants to go. He could get played ring around the rosy here by JT. And then it's up to Knight to win that 1v1 against Dell. Does he roll high enough? 605 HP. The shot, I don't think, went through there from Knight. So Dell should now get it done. And in that meanwhile, JT gets chased down by Wymo. That's round over as far as I'm concerned. Knight, does he win this 1v2? I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm highly dubious of that one. Yeah, quick 3-kill for Dell at the end of it all. But it looked very, very scary for a brief moment. Although it doesn't look like it was scary at all for Wymo. He's enjoying his life.
Look, if Wymo went down there, that was a whole different ball game, but he didn't. He clutched it. He survived, and we've got a tiebreaker. So, Sense taking 2 on Cliff, and the Scorps, of course, taking 2 on map number 1. So, it's going to be a fun time. Now, that was insane, the fact it got down so close. And I love just how edgy your seat a lot of these games are getting. Some of which, look, they might be over within seconds, like map number 3 already in the series, but map number 4, like that one got you going for all different reasons, right, Jordan?
Yeah, this one, I mean, this was a pretty fun one, to be honest. Like, I think whenever you see a double TVP, like, I'm all for that. I love the fact that Scorpions have brought that. You know, everyone knows I'm a big fan of the Bat Chat. I'm also a really big fan of the TVP. Probably not as much of a fan as Karath is, because I know he's a big TVP enjoyer, but I just love the explosiveness of those kinds of tanks, and I don't know if we really got it in the fashion in which we would have liked to have seen it from Scorpions, to be honest. I think JT did really well in his. Russian, he got a good couple of clips off there, or at least a good clip off, but instantly got blown up. And then you sort of feel as though, well, the TVP is not really showing its true value there, because obviously it's that fast reload that you get, and obviously the massive dump of damage that you get on the autoloader as well. That you can do it if you can do it a couple of times. That's where you start to get the value from the TVP over something like, say, a Bat Chat, which has 5 shots rather than just the 4. So you can get a little bit more damage down in the Bat Chat if you're only getting the 1 clip off, but once you start to get to 2 clips, to 3 clips, that's where the TVP starts to pull ahead. And in this case, I think Russian obviously would have been a little bit better off with even just staying in a Bat Chat, or to be honest, he could have been even fine in a single shot tank there if he would have taken, you know, yeah, or even a 50B, but put him in like a 277 or something like that. He can still make that wrap around behind with JT. He can be a little bit more survivable, and you can still get a bit of work done there. But Russian just get instantly blown up as soon as he fires that first clip in, and so I don't think he got the full value out of the double TVP there. I think one potentially was going to get enough work done there for Scorpions, and they might have been better off with just a single shot tank alongside it.
Well, looking at the form of both the teams so far, how are you feeling going into the first tiebreaker for the night, especially between these two teams? Like, it couldn't have happened in a better match, right?
I'm not sure which way this actually leans. I'm not sure who gets the attacking side choice. We've got the faster attacking side win. Both teams won their attack. Oh, I mean, so Scorpions won the attack on Proc, and Sentinels won the attack here on Cliff.
Yeah.
I mean, that Cliff was not... It wasn't a super long game, so that ended with what? Maybe like 3 minutes left? How fast was the attacking side win on Proc? No, it's the attacking side win. So it's this half here, and then the attacking half that Scorpions won on Proc.
I think Sentinels might still actually come out with
the choice of side.
The choice of side, the faster win. But I mean, honestly, I think my sort of general faith in Sense here kind of been restored. Even though their proc rocker was very questionable, is probably the only way to really describe this.
Having a look at those player cams again, you could see, look, some of them up the top were popping off, but then down the bottom there was just like a sigh of relief. Would you say Knight wasn't happy there in that?
He wasn't happy. I don't know. I have to go back and look at the replay there, but I think there was a couple of bounce shots right toward the end there, maybe from Knight, and that's why you're getting that kind of a reaction, because he would know that if he kills Dell in that IS-7, he really frees himself up to assist JT, and all JT has to do is kind of keep running ring around the Rosie along enough time for that M454 to get the reload off, and then Wymo's a dead man, because Wymo's also a one-shot. Problem is JT's in an autoloader, so he just can't reload in time to do anything. So he's just trying to buy time and hoping that Knight wins the 1v1.
This just in, Scorps had the tiebreaker advantage, and they've chosen defense. Is it finally going to happen? Are we going to see him take down the Sense here, Cthulhu? Do you think that defense on Himmelsdorf is going to be strong enough to make it happen?
I'm not too sure here, Mac. I'll be genuinely honest. Last time. So remembering Scorps' defense on the Himmelsdorf last time, I think it was, funnily enough, actually something across the lines of they were, I think, either against Matildas or it was against Sentinels the last time they've played on Himmelsdorf, and it was sort of, I remember very, very clearly the storyline was that they were setting up initially for a very sort of thorough play.
Is that a bounce?
Yeah, can we roll that back again another time as well? Because this is the shot that would win the fight, win the map, and win the game for Scorpions. If that pens, Knight's now on reload, and he can focus on Wymo with the shot that he's about to fire. Which also then, you know, like once you're getting face hugged by Dell, it's like, whatever, what can you do? But here, he's aiming for the lower plate, but I think he's just like raised the gun, or Dell's driven forward enough that it's actually gone into the upper plate instead. And so
the angle is just bad.
That's the one that makes the big difference. I mean, the problem is for Knight, like, he can't back up here. He can't back up to give himself enough room with that gun depression to sort of really like guarantee the lower plate shot, because as soon as he starts backing up, the terrain is like sloped a little bit and his gun starts to point up. So it's sort of all playing into a little bit of a, like, one minute moment makes such a big difference in that whole game, and very unfortunate for Knight. And you can see why he's so mad, because like I said, that could be the difference making shot. But it's gone the way of Sentinels this time.
Well, it just goes down to the RNG discussion that we've had multiple times tonight. But
I mean, even Donga highlighted it.
Yeah, just those 1%ers, right? Like the fact that he drives forward at that moment when he was aiming at the lower plate, it just changes. It literally changes everything. That could have been the shot that was needed. And then who was it? Was it Wymo that won that fight on like 200 HP over on the other side of 50 HP, whatever it was towards the end? Like ridiculous, you know, flip a coin like you've been doing all night, Cthulhu, for your predictions. And there is a chance now that you get your prediction wrong. The coin could have lied for you.
Oh, look, the coin already lied to me about the Panthers versus Comets. This one I made a somewhat of an educated sort of guess. with the way how it was played. But yeah, look, honestly, I going into the matchup of Sentinels versus Scorpions, given the history before, I was still very much on the fence because Scorpions in the recent days have been looking pretty well organized, pretty well sort of kept. But yeah, tonight has been a bit of all over the place, and things been certainly looking rather odd on a couple of occasions. I mean, you look at the Prokhorovka, completely stark difference to what's happening to them on Cliff. Going on to Himmels, I think the fact that they've picked defense actually gave Sentinels the carte blanche on basically they could do whatever they want on the attack. They can be the ones to dictate how Himmelsdorf will really play out. Because for Scorpions, well, what can you do? You basically set yourself up for the defense across the park, chuck a couple of the tanks to watch out the railroad, maybe keep one tank to watch the the drive off from the castle. That's about it. Whereas for Sentinels, you could go for the banana take, they could go for the railroad take, they could go for the split play between Banana Park and the castle. You literally have the whole map to really play around, and Sentinels are known to be able to go for those plays. I mean, Rainbow has been named one of the better callers out of the whole of ANZ PL for a reason, because he has the ability to say mid-round, okay, this map has not been working out. Completely scrape the plan, go into the next one. So I think as much as I would have loved to see the upset, as much as I would have loved to see Scorpions actually pull off the win despite my predictions, I think they may have actually shot themselves in the foot here with the defense.
Okay, well, it looks like it's time for the tiebreaker. Final map of the night and final chance for Scorps to pull the upset here and take down the Sens. Let's see if they can do it. Jordan, can they?
Can they? Well, that's a big question, isn't it? Himmelsdorf, really good map for Sentinels. So, I'm going to give it to Sentinels here, I think. I think the reverse sweep once again is in effect. We've seen that plenty of times from Sentinels against Scorpions. Very heavy lineup. Double 50B though from Sentinels. So they're going to be looking for that decisive 1-2 punch. It's Dellen returned, interesting enough, they're going to be taking those 50Bs. And then, well, pretty much just the super heavy lineup from Scorpions. Big he'll take from Sentinels though.
Yeah, I'm liking this idea though. Look at this. This is actually a full-on push. Waterline. Look, knowing how much Wymo was quite a fan of, talking to some of the Matilda players at the very beginning of the season, wouldn't be surprised if they decided to, take a bit of an example. Set up here, a full-on push. Funnily enough, that's the push. That's the kind of aggression that actually worked against Scorpions, because Scorpions set up for an elaborate play across the whole map. What Sentinels do instead, focus, push, punch through, because at this very position, they are able to isolate each and every tank one by one.
Well, Sentinels do like this push, don't they, a lot? But I think where this really normally works very well is when there's a tank on that 2 flag that you can get on top of so quickly. In this case, you're not really going to be seeing that for Scorpions. That's a pretty egregious one to miss for JT. But regardless, okay, maybe Russian's in a bit of trouble here in that super conk. He's going to have to get moving. See, this is what you don't want to be seeing. You don't want to be seeing tanks get isolated. And Russian, unfortunately, is. So he's just backed off quickly enough that it's not going to matter. Now it's a bit of a scramble for that reset, more so than anything else for Scorpions. I think this game's over. I actually think this game's over already. I think Sentinels have won it. Because how do you get this reset without throwing tanks away? Scorpions are just going to have to drive all the way across the cap. And in that, meanwhile, the 50Bs are going to farm them. I mean, this is looking really bad for Scorpions.
Good thing that Rainbow, though, did rotate towards that sort of pocket, because otherwise outside he would have actually gotten shredded, absolutely.
Some good shots from Russian and Aussie, though. It makes it doable. I mean, Rainbow's on 400 HP. They've got the resets as much as they need to. These 50Bs, once they stop firing, they are going to get farmed by the Super Conquerors. Scorpions might have been able to find a way to swing this one back on its head. It's on to Russian and Aussie to really get that job done. Rainbow down early, Returned and Dell are sitting ducks. Scorpions are winning this fight. They are slowly but surely getting their way back into this game. Russian, he's got to drive off. I think he gets one more shot in here, maybe onto Dell, and then starts to focus in onto the E100s. Never mind, he's more focused on Wymo and on Cindy, and he's just going to trust that Aussie will be able to finish Dell off on his own, which is probably what will end up occurring. Turns around, gets one more shot on in there, and Scorpions have pulled it off. I thought that was going to go horribly wrong for the Scorpions, but they hit some really nice shots on the entries, and Sentinels this time are going to go down. Scorpions are going to get it done. Wymo blows up, and that is that. Scorpions will win 3-2. I'm not going to say it was a decisive victory, but it's a really good victory, and JT is pumped.
Understandably so. Big congrats to the Scorps. I was, eating what you were cooking there, Jordan, when you were like, this one's over. Like, the positions from the Sents looked so good, but Scorps just saying, screw it, look, we'll just get a reset, cross in, and just, shoot fish in a barrel there, catch them off. And then the shots, of course, went their way as they went there on the defense. So insane turn of events for a tiebreaker. And it was much more action-packed, whole bunch of damage coming out. Can't wait to see the stats because it's going to look so damn one-sided. But look, anything you would have changed, does it all boil down to the fact that on the tiebreaker, Scorps got to choose the defense? Is that big enough of a factor? Or did you think Sentinels just had the setup, just didn't play it as they kind of needed to?
I think I actually might have played myself on the prediction for the fact that Scorpions picked defense. The way how they actually played this was low-key genius because remembering even the last season of ANZPL, JT was quite vocal about being able to counter a whole lot of, the autoloader setups. The double 50B that came out was initially a genius idea, yes, by all means. If they would have, swung out and, gotten the better of the S-Kong and actually would have kept on moving. But instead they, got themselves stationary, got themselves into that pocket and kind of cornered themselves really at the end of it all. So for JT and the crew, all they needed to just do is push in, not let them be mobile, not let them, flank around. From there on, it's the consistent damage over the clip damage that came out victorious. And I mean, you're looking at the numbers. Russian farmed up a clean, crispy 3K. You look at Raspberry even 2.4. Aussie and JT feeling rather crispy as well. So this worked out almost far too well. Whereas on the Sentinels, look, yeah, it's like we highlighted during the cast. Same strat, but just they, I guess, just never expected to actually get counter-stratted this time.
Well, there you have it. Jordan, those stats, you saw them. Anything you want to say? Anyone you want to roast because they ruined your fantasy? You've been doing it all night.
No, not really. I think overall, just a really, really nicely played game from Scorpions. I look at this setup from Sentinels, and I thought what was going to happen is they were going to keep those two tanks in reserve on the A line and just keep them tucked around the corner. Because there's like, what? I guess there's only 30 seconds here, but this may have been after a reset came through.
I think it was just before the reset.
Yeah,
Going now.
So maybe there was plenty of time there for Scorpions in the end, but I thought the E100s were just going to sort of sit in reserve and sort of play back and sort of play that timer, and then Scorpions were going to rush across to try to get the reset. Instead, Scorpions kind of split their forces, and I just love how they managed to get the two Super Kongs on top of the 50Bs. It's kind of what Cthulhu was saying. It's like, if you're going to pick a double 50B, you want to be the team that's making the decisions as to how those fights are actually playing out. If you are ultimately being forced to fight in a pillbox like that against two Super Kongs, you've fired all of your shots already across at an M454, you're just going to get farmed for free, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. So if you're playing double 50B, you want to be that decisive team, you want to be that proactive team, and that in the end was not the case for Sentinels. It was Scorpions that dictated ultimately how that game played out.
Polar opposites Knight there. He was celebrating for a good 30 seconds before the game was over. Knew it was happening. But I'm sure he's going to be, a very happy individual moving forward. Now, Jordan, if you could talk to any player from the Scorpions, who would you not want to talk to?
There's no one I wouldn't want to talk to, Mac. I'd want to talk to all of them. I'm a nice guy.
I'm trying to set you up to be toxic, but as soon as I start to set you up, all that toxicity seems to just be thrown out the door. Cthulhu, is JT your mate?
Look, I'm not too sure if he's considering me a mate. I know that I've been getting quite a fair few roasts, so I guess you could call excited.
Well, I have him here to give you the answer. JT, is Cthulhu your mate?
No.
Well,
All right,
that's
understandable.
but are you happy?
Have a nice day.
Are you happy with the W?
I'm just playing.
Because that was
Listen,
a
I'm
crazy
happy with
map.
the W, and Cthulhu is my mate. Without me, listen, who invited you to all those training rooms when you started casting this Cthulhu?
Exactly.
But yeah,
All right.
happy with the dub, I guess.
So serious question then, JT. Can you give us a reenactment of the winning moment? Because we saw you on the cams. I'd love to hear what you actually said.
I'll be honest, I can't.
You can't remember, or it's
no,
just explicit.
It took a lot
safe
of
for broadcast, I
it
think.
it was safe for broadcast. It took a lot of energy. Hopefully they get it. They give us the replay going into the next series, and maybe you'll
that'd be
get a
great.
sneak peek.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Ooh. Okay.
Truly. Look, run me through the first two maps, JT, because I mean, look, your Prokhorovka looked nice, clean, all solid. Well, okay.
Okay.
Score-wise.
Sure.
Yeah. Technically. But then Cliff just was quite a polarizing turnout. Apart from actually the TVPs were actually quite big brain. So run me through what went wrong.
Well, what went wrong in the TVPs is the same reason that Russian was benched for like 4 weeks in a row. He just kind of drove in and died. So like, I don't know why he's a 5-star player when Benny's better than him and he's 1-star. So that's not my problem. But yeah, we had a pretty rough week in scrims, I would say. I think last night was probably the worst scrim we've had in 5 seasons against Matildas. So yeah, we kind of came into this like every Sentinels match expecting to get reverse swept. And somehow we pulled out a victory, yeah, on Himmelsdorf of all things.
No, well, good. Big congratulations. Also, spitting facts, taking notes. Hopefully those suggestions will be taken down going into next season when you and your boy Benny is going to be a 5-star and Russian can go back to like 2-star
That's
or something
right.
more appropriate.
Just want to make it clear that we have a 7-man core. Just so stop the slander. My teammates are very upset by some people's comments that some people are worse than others. We're a team equality on our team. So it doesn't matter your age, your star rating, if you're napalmer or not.
I'd like to see
everyone's
JT
good.
not playing a couple of weeks, to be honest. That would feel
You
like
might
equality to me.
get that. I think we're guaranteed first, providing that us and Sentinels win the last 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
I
Can
mean,
you tell
we're
Rico, by
basically
the way,
guaranteed top 2 anyway. So.
Before you bench anyone, can you just like give me a heads up on Discord so I don't pick them on fantasy next week? Like, thanks.
I thought you knew everything, Jordan.
I do know everything, but I mean,
Listen,
I just
whoever
need
shows
you to
up
help me.
plays. We've had some attendance issues this season, so is what it is. But
Maybe
yeah.
Cthulhu's in next season.
In our team, yeah, probably. I heard we need to make some roster changes. I heard that on a podcast by a team that we smashed. So.
Nice. You always take suggestions from the losers, right? Like, that's the whole thing. Now, look, we'll let you go, JT. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for the yarn, and enjoy next week. Hopefully you do lock in first. Hopefully that was the one you needed to win.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Toodaloo. See you later, JT. Now, what a damn good night of tanks. A lot of happy tanking's going on. A couple of upsets. I think, wait, was it upsets every series?
No.
Would you
First
say
series
it?
was expected.
Very true. Okay, yeah, that was months ago, that series.
It was unexpected, but it was expected. Because what did I say after the first series? I said I can only get 1 out of 3 right every night, and I got 1 out of 3 right tonight. So it was the first series. I knew what was going to happen after Action X1. I knew Converts would win, and I knew Scorpions would win. I said it. Easy. Boom. 100% prediction rate tonight.
I was right there with you. You know, I did copy your predictions, so I'm just as disappointed as you are, because it means Blue Panda pulled out even further in the lead. Did he go for Scorps as well?
He's got a 2-pointer, yeah.
Ooh, he's big brain in it, taking risks to stay in the lead, and it's worked. So, man's been putting in a little bit of homework to try to figure out what's going on. Now, look, we have a few things coming up, but before we do, next couple of weeks are going to change almost everything. Just getting word that Sentinels and Scorpions are 100% in playoffs no matter what. So they are going to be locked in first and second. So I guess round of applause.
Congrats.
The Scorps and Sentinels. You're supposed to, with the round of applause, Jordan, you're supposed to do a circle. Can you do it again? No, but with the clap.
Just do it for the class.
Close enough. Close enough. I'll accept
Did I do it good?
Yeah, look, P's get degrees. You got to pass. Congratulations.
Oh, yeah.
You've got a degree in happy tanking and maybe not following instructions, but you got a 50 out of 100 ain't bad.
We'll get it done. We'll get it
Yeah,
done.
we'll get there. We'll get there. Now, look, coming up, we are going to have a look at the results. We'll do that right now, actually. See what happened today. You guys saw it as well. If you watched the broadcast, hopefully you did. We did. I enjoyed it. Adelaide Action X 3-1 over the Matildas, who managed to at least take one map. Panthers losing to the Comets on the first two maps. 3-1 Comets managing to pull that sweep with a big couple of plays on Ghost Town. And then, of course, as you saw just there, Sentinels and Scorpions went all the way to the tiebreaker, and Scorps, after having a pretty good attacking side advantage, meant they got to choose the defense and then called up a Storm to take Himmelsdorf. So that was today's games. Cthulhu, I think you've been doing a whole bunch of work around here, watching all the tanking. Did you think tonight's quality of games was right up there with the best of it?
I definitely think that, yeah, tonight has definitely upped the ante rather nicely, given that we're already nearing slowly but surely towards the end of the regular season, towards the playoffs. And I think with all the matches starting to get as important and as impactful as they are, this has been a very pleasant sort of day of tanking, especially to wrap up the Sydney Derby the way how it did was a treat. I'll definitely have to say that.
Okay, well, let's have a look at the predictions and give Blue Panda his bloody crown, because he could still lose the crown.
Oh, no, wait, he took an L on the prediction.
Oh, he did on the final one. All right, well, look, we're lying here on broadcast.
How's production gotten more than anyone else this week? Like, that's just how you know nothing makes sense.
Congratulations, production. I'm so proud of you, and you've almost caught up to Elfish Guy. You've overtaken Cthulhu. That's a big week. That's a big week out of you guys.
Production just picks the randomest shit. And that's how you know this is not going the way it should.
Get it off your chest, Jordan. Look, it's been fun. We've had a lot of fun.
I'm still top 3 fantasy. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. And I'm still second in predictions after all of my predictions that I've done. And Blue Panda, I'm sure he's going to be happy with that. Now, let's move forward. Of course, predictions were great, but we've got the team standings, which is very important for a bunch of players, a bunch of individuals, and also interesting having a look at 4th and 5th. Comets and Panthers are almost tied, but of course there was that tiebreaker win for the Comets, and in terms of the points, they're a little bit higher as well. So, still kicking up a storm, and Panthers with that loss, they've not only gone from tied 3rd all the way to 5th, but that means it's going to be extremely hard for them to have a chance at making it into 3rd place and into the playoffs, into the finals. So, that's going to be interesting. Cthulhu, anything you want to touch on this graphic?
Honestly, I'm quite excited to see how this whole contention for the top 4 will really go, because now with Action X and Comets in this sort of run, plus Panthers technically still having the ability to completely sort of cause an upset and deny Comets even a chance at the playoffs, this whole race just got 2 times more exciting, because prior to tonight, it was looking kind of like, oh yeah, you know, Action X had that sort of 1 week where they popped up. Yep, look, cool, all good. And now it's looking like the race finally resumed. It's actually looking, you know, even more exciting. We better yet, we probably might not even get, you know, all the same predictions finally.
Well, I'm also getting word that technically, look, it's getting to the last couple of legs of the race, but Matildas still have a theoretical opportunity to make it to finals. They have to win both matches next 2 weeks in order to make the finals, as well as having Action X and Comets both play really, 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 really poorly. So, look, it's a fine chance, but no one is out of the race yet, and we still got 2 weeks. So things are really heating up here on the ANZPL. Scorps locking in that 1st place as well with those 2 points now. And look, let's move on to next week's matches. We'll see what's going to be on your screens going into next Friday. We got Adelaide Action X up against Panthers as match number 1. Number 2, we got Sense and Comets, which... I think it's very much a sense affair, but after Comets pulled off what they did tonight, you never know, hey? you never know. And that third match as well, Matilda's up against Scorpions. Jordan, who's winning that?
Matilda's is going to get absolutely wrecked.
Okay. You heard it here first. Now,
4-0.
if anyone of the Matildas is in chat, please, let us know what you think about Jordan, Elfish Guy Maze.
Yeah,
really quick.
Matild's.
Wow.
Bold.
Wow. Okay. What's your favorite match out of these ones, Cthulhu?
Honestly, I'm actually looking forward to the very first one, Action X versus Panthers, because I think this is going to be the one to decide by quite a fair margin as to how that sort of the race for the bottom two of the top four will really go. So the third and fourth place, and sort of how will Panthers really fare for the last couple more games.
Okay, now let's have a look at the ANZ B League matches next week. What you can see over towards the B League. Well, 7 p.m. Having a look at this one. Lismore Leopards up against the Auckland Archers. Second game of the night, the Canberra Centurions take on the Hawthorn Hellcats, and then the Fremantle Fireflies round out the night at 9 p.m. up against the Bundaberg Badgers. Now, we don't have badgers in Australia that I'm aware of. Cthulhu, have you ever petted a badger?
I have not actually yet.
Have you been keeping up with the B League though?
I somewhat. I've gotten to watch a couple games here and there. Look, I'm definitely gotta say, the Centurions, for what it's worth, had quite a bit of a shaky one, given that they were one of the few teams that were contesting for a promotion to PL. So seeing that they are struggling is certainly quite a bit of a surprise. Plus, I mean, with the Leopards, look, they have a 40 win rate representative, so they gotta vouch for the boys.
Okay, now Jordan, out of the B League teams, do you think you have an inkling on who might move up going into next season, or do you want to just wait and see how it all?
Look, I don't really watch a lot of the B League, to be honest with you, Mac. So I couldn't really say which one of those teams would be moving up, if any. But I would like to think that in the promo relegation match, the ANZPL teams would win that. So I guess unless there's a world where Matildas, if they do come last, sort of break up as a team, similar to what happened to Bulldogs last season, I would expect that we would still have the same 6 next season.
Okay, well, we'll see if that happens, and we'll also see who's making finals over the next couple of weeks. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here. Happy tanking, ANZPL Week 8. Throw it in the bin. She's done. She's dusted. We had a lot of fun, a lot of action, and we'll see you next week for much more of it too.
I've been thinking